Yo, 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 what is up? What is up? What's going on? Thank you for tuning in to another DLE Fitness live stream show. Let's go. Whew. Oh man, today is Tuesday. We're a couple days into the week, and hopefully you're having a good day wherever you're at. I had to get a late start on the stream today, but if you're having a bad day, let's let Mr. Chow break it down to you.
Oh, you're having a bad day? Did you die?
I got shot.
But did you die?
And as long as you did not become unalive, you are still blessed to make something happen. You still got to get up there, get out and get it, be consistent with it, and keep grinding until further notice. Yes. Today is going to be a rough stream today. We are simultaneously streaming on YouTube, Twitch, Kick, and Rumble. If you're on YouTube, do me a favor. When you see that thumbs up like button, I think I have to do it with the left hand now because I don't think the right hand works anymore. There we go. Hit that thumbs up button on YouTube to get the algorithm out. Is greatly appreciated. So we can get this message out so everybody can hear it and see it, because it needs to be given to everyone so they can hear what they need to do in the future as we move into this new world order that we're basically going into. How everything is going at this point, you can't even deny it. You can't help but see it. It is what it is. And yes, sir, if you want to contribute to today's show, here's a Cash App and a Venmo. Cash App is Daniel2888. Venmo is Danny-Daniel-00. Oh my goodness. Yes, sir. Today's going to be a rough stream, but we're going to get it done. Yes, it's gonna be a rough one. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. The boy got a sore throat, so I'm not gonna be too enthusiastic today. Still got my workout in the gym, and also we still went for a 30-minute jog. But to say the least, I'm not feeling too well right now. But I still have to get this stream done. I didn't even want to stream today. I had to convince myself to hop on here and get this stream done because I was like, nah, I don't feel right. I don't feel good. I don't feel like doing it, but I have to get this stream done. I got to get this taken care of because it's a message that needs to get out. People need to hear it. So with that being said, man, today we got a good show lined up for you. All right. We got our 3 topics: the fitness, economy, and AI. For the fitness portion of the show, we're going to dive in and look at the carnivore diet and see why people are healing eating a protein based or a carnivore diet, high protein based diet more than anything. And people are seeing tremendous results. So we have to see exactly why that is and why people are seeing such good health benefits from a all protein diet. Basically a carnivore diet, which I think I can tap in and just answer that off top. Because when you look at your macros, you have your carbs, proteins, and fats, right? Your fats are going to be, you know, for your hormone balance. Your carbs are going to be your energy, which then if you don't burn the rest off, it turns into, is it glycose or glucogen? One of those. And then you got proteins, which are, you know, your muscle builder that helps, you know, repair your muscle and stuff like that. So whenever you cut out the carbs, because your body naturally produces, you know, the glucose that your body turns your carbs into, your body produces that naturally. So there's really not much of a need for you to need it as much. And protein is for your muscle. So your body needs muscle because muscles is what move your bones. Something is on my camera. I have to get that off, but I'll get off in a minute. Protein is what builds your muscle. That's what gives you your muscle mass and everything. That's why when you see people get Aki and stuff and big and stuff like that, it's because they had eaten a high protein count as far as their macros go. They're eating high grams of protein, which is what you need for your body to, you know, grow and develop muscle. Carbs are not really necessary for muscle. I mean, they'll inflate your muscles and they're good to use prior to a workout. But after that, when you're done with your workout and you use the carbs and burn them off, you can just go protein really the rest of the day and a little bit of healthy fats to kind of, you know, keep your hormones balanced. But when you think of everything in today's world that's carbs, if you really think about it, it's a whole lot of crap. If you really, I mean, think about it. Bread. I mean, and I'm speaking from an America standpoint. You know, our bread is full of sugar. You know, you can get rice, you can have potatoes, vegetables, all kind of packaged, frozen packaged, all that stuff, like all these things that you can have, tortillas, just a lot of stuff that we have is packaged, but it's like high in carbs and sugar. So it's really detrimental for you. And if you were to just take all that away and just focused on the protein aspect and only use the carb for prior to a workout, you would see tremendous results because you would be eliminating a hell of a lot of sugar. So that's one of the main things that probably people are noticing. You're removing the sugar content and you're removing the, carbs are just used to, carbs, when you eat them and you're not using them, they just turn to sugar and fat. So you're removing that whole element. Then your body kind of chisels up and looks a lot better because you're not putting unnecessary carbs in there, and then you're not burning it, and then you don't burn it off, then it just, which would turn into fat. So it makes sense as to why, but we're going to watch a video on that to get a deeper understanding as to why the carnivore diet is healing people. So that's going to be a good one to watch for fitness. Then we're going to go into the economy. As you know, day 6 of the government shutdown is here. And last time I checked, at least what I heard, it's the Democrats' fault. I don't know how, I don't know who, I don't really pick a side too often, but we're going to see what's really going on because, a lot of people have lost their jobs. And we're going to look into, as well as luxury car loans and also subprime loans on vehicles. A lot of immigrants have taken out loans for vehicles. And what happened back in 2008 with the subprime loan and the mortgage industry, which caused a crash, or 2006 or 8, we're having that same thing happen in the auto loan market industry. So they're doing the same thing. They just switched it over to the cars. And with all these immigrants that came in, they were able to get, luxury cars and Beamers and BMWs and stuff with really, they didn't even have to qualify for anything. It was the same thing as the subprime mortgages back in the day. They just put it over the cars. So now the car industry is tanking, and it's the same thing except it's on the car side. So we're going to look at that and get a very detailed understanding on how that works and what's going on and what to expect from that. That's going to be good to watch. And then last but not least, we're going to see if AI, for the AI portion of the show, we're going to see if AI will choose to blackmail humans just to survive. Will it try to manipulate humans just to keep itself going and keep itself running? Which I think it would, because we try to teach the AI to think like a human, and human would do some nefarious things. You know what I mean? Dog eat dog world out here, but that's just what it is. But with that said, that's what we have for today's show. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. Oy. Okay. All right, we're back. Sorry about that. Jesus. Like I said, today's going to be a rough show, but we're going to get this one through. I had coughed up some phlegm or something. I don't know what the hell that was. It was pretty gross. No. Don't clap. Scream. There you go. Coughed up some phlegm. It felt gross. It just happened out of nowhere. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and dive into the first segment of the show. So let's go ahead and get these girls in here to start this off.
Let's get ready for the fitness segment of the show.
Yes, sir. So let me go ahead and get this banner up, and we're going to go ahead and dive right into it. Like I said, we're going to look at a video, which is basically going to talk to us about the carnivore diet and why it's working its miracles. Why is it healing so many people? And I think each diet is different to each person, but I think that this actually could work, at least from an American standpoint of view, would be beneficial for Americans, to say the least. I mean, probably people worldwide, but just speaking on what I've heard other people say about the American diet, where everything they eat over here is so sweet, and people come over here and they just naturally gain weight easily without even trying. You know what I mean? And that's just to show you that our food is it's made different. It's they do a little heavy pour when it comes to the sugar in everything. So you can't escape sugar in America. Sugar is in everything, and yeah, we're going to kill you with sugar. That's just what we do over here. But anyway, let's go ahead and get this video up on the screen. I'm going to go ahead and start this video out. I'm going to interject when I can. So we're going to slowly but surely get this thing going. Let me find, there we go. get the right banner up, and let's go ahead and get this thing started. And where's the volume? All right, go ahead and take it away.
What if vegetables and other plants were causing all your problems?
This diet completely excludes fruits and vegetables and says you should only eat meat to lose weight. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, but it works.
I lost 52 pounds.
I lost 50 pounds.
Lost over 100 pounds.
100 pounds.
Lost 105 pounds.
I lost 125 pounds.
I'm never hungry.
The big question is, why would only meat solve so many people's problems?
I don't have that brain fog.
I came off my antidepressants.
After about 3 months, it was like no more meds at all.
My depression is gone, okay?
Within a week, I was 25% less anxious in the morning. Within 2 weeks, 75%, and I've been better every single day.
I used to get severe migraines that are just now gone.
In August of 2021, Michaela Peterson was invited to do a TED Talk. She told her story of how from the time she was a child, she suffered from arthritis that was so bad, she had to get an artificial hip and ankle. She suffered from depression, bipolar disorder, chronic fatigue, and she was sleeping 17 hours a day thanks to all the medication she was on.
And remember, I've showed you what people have been talking about in the past about medicine, how they're going to use medicine basically to try to use medicine to disconnect you from your soul. But it's just to show you the power of diet and eating and what you eat. It has a tremendous power and tremendous effect, and that's why they try to, give you a crap diet to eat so you won't be at your peak performance level mentally, physically, and spiritually. Because as you've seen, a lot of people have been healing with different different ailments, headache, and this lady had freaking hip replacement and ankle replacement. People had a whole bunch of different things that they were going through, and it's all from a diet. But let's continue.
Methotrexate and naproxen, cortisone and Enbrel and methotrexate, put on SSRIs, put on OxyContin, Tylenol 3 to take at night, 40 milligrams of Adderall just to wake up. I was taking Dapsone, escitalopram for the depression, prescription strength antihistamine. If I don't figure out what's wrong with me, I'm going to die.
All right, just real quick, look at this girl. A lot of y'all were gonna think and say she's attractive. Do you think of all the drugs she was on, how doped up she was? She was straight high as a kite everywhere she went, 24/7, 365, just zooted, just straight blaze high out of her mind. And you want to go up there and talk to her and think everything is glitz and glamour? If this is her, think of how many other people like her are walking around, all this stuff she named. Like, listen to all the drugs that she named. I mean, that's a list of drugs to be on. Listen to this.
3 to take at night, 40 milligrams of methotrexate, put on
All the medication she was on.
methotrexate and naproxen, cortisone and Enbrel and methotrexate, put on SSRIs, put on OxyContin, Tylenol 3 to take at night, 40 milligrams of Adderall just to wake up. I was taking Dapsone, escitalopram for the depression, prescription strength antihistamine. If I don't figure out what's wrong with me, I'm going to die.
The solution to her years and years of crippling health problems was surprisingly simple, yet...
So with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at what I was trying to show y'all. I'm gonna have to keep putting this out here all the time because this is a very, very, very important thing that I found, and I can't ignore it at this point because it made so much sense. Once I found it, I was like, yo, this is crazy. So everything that she just named, all the drugs and everything that she was taking, we're gonna have to start this show off with this thing again because it just makes too much sense when you see it. So right here you have this story from this expert right here from Rudolf Steiner. He has this right here. This is what he says. All right, this is from 18 sometime in like the late 1800s or whatever. But it says right here, in the future we will eliminate the soul with medicine under the pretext of a healthy point of view. There will be vaccines, and the human body will be treated as soon as possible right at birth so that the human being cannot develop the thought of existence of the soul and the spirit. And then down here it says right here, it says right here that people who constantly take this vaccine will be immune to being subjected to the madness of spiritual life, and they will be extremely intelligent, but they will not develop consciousness. And this is the true goal of some materialistic circles. With such a vaccine, you can easily make the etheric body detach from the physical body. Once the etheric body separates, the relationship between the universe and the etheric body will become extremely unstable. Man will become an automaton because the spiritual body of man must be polished on this earth by spiritual will. Then the vaccine becomes an aromatic force, can man can no longer get rid of the materialistic sentiment that has been given to him. He becomes materialistic in constitution and can no longer elevate himself to the spiritual. And as we see this all day, every day today. That's all we see. We see everybody materialistic and not spiritual in nature. So all because you're doing good and looking well off financially, it could be a well thought out and well programmed play that these people have on the back end. But let's continue.
Kind of strange.
And I cut everything out except for beef. 2 weeks after doing that, the itch went away and my joints started to feel better. 4 weeks after that, the depression lifted and I stopped crying in the morning. And 5 months after that, the anxiety lifted and I was back in what
I've recently come to learn that.
So far she's doing good, and luckily she's being healed, because that's got to be a very unfortunate situation to be feeling like that every single day you wake up, taking all of those drugs and just being doped up out of your mind. But let's let her continue with this. We got her back here, so let's put her back on the screen. Let's let her continue.
Was heaven.
But TEDx refused to upload her talk.
I followed TEDx's guidelines very carefully. I was the only talk from that TEDx conference that they refused to post.
Her story isn't based on a scientific study, it's just an anecdote.
TEDx refused to upload her stuff. Isn't that weird? TEDx let Bill Gates go up there and make jokes about eliminating a percentage of the population, but she go up there talking about what healed her ailments. And she was taking a bunch of medicine. But then when she told the reason as to why all the medicine went away, TEDx didn't want to put her stuff up. Isn't it kind of weird when I just read you this thing right here about medicine and what they try to use it for? A person who comes in curing the body is basically like kind of like they ban her viewpoint. Well, let's keep going.
But apparently it was the wrong anecdote. You see, Michaela made significant progress on her health problems by cutting out most plant foods from her diet. Then she pretty much completely solved her health issues by cutting out plant foods entirely. She only eats meat. Meanwhile, Ted didn't have any problem uploading people's personal anecdotes about how a vegan diet helped them. In fact, Ted has uploaded at least 43 different talks on veganism.
Well, I've only been eating meat beef fundamentally, for almost 5 years now.
Dr. Sean Baker has been on the carnivore diet for 7 years, and he runs a website where people share their success stories on the diet. Strangely enough, over 1,000 entries discuss all kinds of conditions, including diabetes, hypertension, skin conditions, chronic gut issues, arthritis, mental health disorders, and others, improving or even appearing to be completely cured on a carnivore diet. So, what is going on here? Obviously, meat isn't just magic, but why does a meat-only diet seem to cure all these ailments? There's got to be a very specific reason. Also, what about nutrient deficiencies? And aren't these people's guts going to be totally wrecked without fiber?
For 4.5 months, I lived on literally nothing but fish and water.
The story starts back in 1906, when explorer Vilhjalmur Stefansson was left stranded in the Arctic. Being stranded in such a harsh environment where nothing grows would normally be a death sentence. Stefansson was baffled that not only could the Inuit be perfectly healthy on an almost completely plantless diet, but that he could as well.
And at the end of 4.5 months, I was healthier than I'd never been before.
So over 100 years ago, Stefansson was a proponent of the so-called carnivore diet. And he noted that the Inuit, who stayed on the traditional diet and were not exposed to European foods, they had fantastic teeth that were completely free of cavities. They also didn't have cancer, diabetes, or heart disease. And lastly, no, they did not have scurvy. It still seems to be a puzzle why people like Sean Baker, who has been eating mainly just cooked steaks for 7 years, mysteriously doesn't have scurvy. One reason he might be protected from this is that meat, especially if it's raw, does in fact have a little bit of vitamin C. Further, your vitamin C requirements may be far lower if you don't eat any carbohydrate, because glucose actually inhibits vitamin C transport in the body. In fact, in Stefansson's 1936 article, Adventures in Diet, he noted that men could be cured of scurvy if they were transitioned to a meat-only diet. You see, back in the early 1900s, people didn't believe it was possible to live on an all-meat diet and thought that the less meat you ate, the better for you. It was thought that meat would cause arthritis, hardening of the arteries, high blood pressure, and kidney damage. So,
you see, they tried to tell you the opposite. They said meat would cause these things, but in reality, it was the other way around. So, they're deliberately trying to, whack you, but you have to be smart enough to know exactly what works with your body. And if it's in a package, you should already know when you can't read the stuff that's on the back of the box. That should tell you everything you need to know. That in itself should tell you, if you grab a box of something and you have to read you can't read what the ingredients is or what's inside of it. That should let you know right then and there that that's lab produced food, which is not going to be good for you. You know what I mean?
Stefansson and his friend Karsten Anderson volunteered to eat a meat-only diet while under supervision at Bellevue Hospital for an entire year. Some of the investigators thought that the men would die in under 3 months on this diet. At one point in the experiment, Stefansson was feeling unwell and had some gastrointestinal issues. But this was because he was instructed to eat lean meat. Stefansson had known just how important eating plenty of fat is in the success of the diet. In fact, his book on the topic is called Fat of the Land. Stefansson began eating much more fat, and all his problems went away. To the amazement of all the investigators, Stefansson and Anderson's meat-only diet did not cause any of the health problems that people were worried about. They were perfectly healthy and had in fact reduced their blood pressure and lost weight. This was no surprise to Stefansson, as he knew the Inuit were very fit and trim under their baggy clothes. Both men on the meat diet remarked that they passed much less gas. The investigators were in fact so interested in the topic of gas that they used an X-ray to observe that there was indeed less gas in the intestinal tract. The oldest carnivore success story I could find was one from 1886 in the British Medical Journal. A man went on a meat-only diet, he lost 14 pounds, he claimed that his mental and bodily activity doubled, and his intestinal gas completely went away. Okay, so that's nice, but who cares? This might seem like just a funny observation, but let's take a close look at what's going on in our gut.
That's actually a big deal. I don't know what he says who cares for. I mean, that was, he said 14 pounds, his intestinal tract, he had mental clarity. That was a big deal.
Because gut function is actually really important to our overall health.
Diversity is king and queen and everything in between when it comes to gut health and longevity. I did full-on 90 days of carnivore. My results actually got better. My diversity got better.
There's a lot of talk about the so-called gut-brain connection lately. In 2016, Dr. Emmerin Mayer wrote a book called The Mind-Gut Connection, where he discusses the intimate connection between gut function and mental issues like anxiety or depression. In fact, 5 different studies on various groups of people all found that constipation was associated with depression. Another study published just last year found constipation to be correlated with major depression in American adults. Now, these are just correlations, but other studies have found that people who have the inflammatory gut condition, IBS, to have significantly higher levels of anxiety and depression. Interestingly, you'll find plenty of anecdotes online of people claiming to have resolved their gut issues and depression on a meat-only diet.
You would have to ask yourself, he said that it caused a lot of anxiety and depression. If people go to these therapists and they have all these issues, I'm pretty sure not one time has a therapist said, hey, what do you eat? Think about that. If you just ask, what did you eat? Hey, you want to change your diet just before I give you these drugs just to see if this kind of heals you? Let's try this diet and see if this works. And if not, well, then we'll just dope you up. Simple as that. But then they give you a medicine. A medicine is just a treatment. It's not a cure. But again, like I said, when it comes to medicine, this is what we have right here. In the future, we will eliminate the soul with medicine. Think of how profound of a statement that is. Eliminating the soul with medicine, and they're quick to diagnose you and give you drugs all the time and trying to remove you away from consciousness. However, on the contrary, removing you from consciousness, it will make you extremely intelligent, but you will not develop consciousness. So people see people who are intelligent, but they don't have a tie to consciousness. They're materialistic, and that's why people praise people who are, I guess, well off. You know, if you got a lot of money, and I'm not saying that you can't be one and like I can't talk. I'm not saying that you can't be conscious and well off, but what I'm saying is when you see people who are well off, you got to kind of dive deeper to figure out, okay, is it because they're good at what they do, or is it because of something else? Because this right here is extremely profound when you tie it to everything that we deal with and everything that we do. But let's continue.
All bloating and indigestion, GERD, anything like that, it's completely gone.
This is very effective for dealing with depression.
You do feel a level of both mental clarity, and then even digestive health was really good after the first 8 days.
Now I no longer suffer with anxiety. I no longer suffer with depression.
On the other hand, there have been cases of long-term vegans finally quitting their high-fiber diet specifically because it caused so many gut issues for them.
Hurting my stomach bloating, bloated a lot, bloating,
really bad gastrointestinal issues,
digestive illnesses like this that were so severe.
My intestines were actually bleeding.
Really bad pain after I would eat, and blood in my stool.
We've been told that the gut absolutely needs fiber. We need calcium for strong bones, protein for strong muscles, and fiber for a healthy gut. I'm sure most people would worry that they would be constipated if they didn't have any fiber. But why would we need indigestible substance to keep our digestive tract healthy?
I've always said this. I've always looked at it like this. Another name for poop is waste, right? Think about it. Why is your poop called waste? Let's figure that out. Let's find that out. I actually have a moment to give you. Think about this. Why is your poop called waste? Think about it. Let's go ahead and figure this out. Why is it called waste? There's a reason for this. It's actually, there's a legitimate reason. And when you hear it, you're going to be like, well, that actually makes sense. So right here, let me pull it up for you right here. And this should make a lot of sense once I show it to you. This should make a hell of a lot of sense once I point it out to you, because it's really simple. Once you see it, you're like, well, that makes a lot of sense. But then the way we live is complete opposite. So here it is right here. I got to pull it up. Let's see. Can you see it? Here we go. All right. So poop, also known as feces, is considered waste because it consists of undigested food, dead cells, bacteria, and other byproducts that the body cannot use. The digestive system eliminates these compounds to maintain a healthy balance in the gut. So they're telling you to put fiber to give you a healthy, they're saying fiber helps you go poop. But the thing is, feces is considered waste. Waste is because it consists of undigested food. Your body's not using it. It's dead cells, it's bacteria, and it's other byproducts that the body cannot use. So when you're having a bowel movement, it's stuff that your body didn't use. So why would you keep eating food that your body doesn't use? Think about it. The digestive system eliminates these compounds to maintain a healthy balance in the gut. So we're saying, eat stuff that's high in fiber. When we think fiber, what do we think? Fiber makes us go to the bathroom. But it's like, but right here, if we go to the bathroom, it consists of undigested food, dead cells, bacteria, and other byproducts the body cannot use. I'm not saying that you're not supposed to have a bowel movement, but I don't think it should be as often as it is, because your body should be using what you put into it more so than wasting off what it can't use. You're still supposed to have waste. I'm not taking that away, but you're not supposed to be dealing with it on a normal basis in the form of eat fiber to have a healthy gut, because fiber makes you go to the bathroom. But when you go to the bathroom, it consists of undigested food, dead cells, bacteria, and byproducts that your body can't use. It's like, they just basically saying they're just saying shut up, dumbass, and listen to what we tell you and eat what we say and don't think. That's basically it. But let's continue this video. Here we go.
Consider this bizarre study presented by Dr. Paul Mason here. This case control study looked at 63 different patients with constipation, and they gave them a high or low or zero fiber diet. As we can see, people experienced worsened symptoms when on a high fiber diet. Then a reduced fiber diet actually reduced symptoms.
So the question is, what happened to those who had zero fiber in their diet? This is not a mistake. I didn't just forget to put something in the slide there. Not one patient on the zero fiber diet had any symptoms. That's quite astonishing, really.
The viral Paleo Valley meets.
Basically what I just said. Literally said what I just said in a nutshell. They're telling us to eat fiber, but fiber produces waste. But waste is what I just read it out to you to be. So I mean, they're blatantly like looking at you like, okay, we're trying to kill these folks. We just can't tell them that. So if we make them just do these things and they believe us and they don't do their own research, that's not our fault. And it makes sense. I mean, I agree. It's not their fault. We didn't read, but you know, it is what it is.
One study found that people on a fiber-enriched diet had far more gas evacuation.
So we eat a lot of fiber, so we have gas.
And another study found that indeed when you increase the fiber, you increase gas production.
Fiber was really messing me up in that respect, and I just felt better from a gut perspective without it.
Your gut is so inflamed right now, you can't tolerate all this fiber you're eating every day. 14 out of 15 years of vegan, and now I'm gonna eat just animal foods, right? Go on a carnivore diet, removing all fiber. I started eating eggs, and then I started eating meat. Instantly, gut inflammation gone, bloat and gas gone.
But I often get bloated, I get stomach cramps sometimes. And when I was on the carnivore diet, I did not have any stomach cramps or bloating once. I haven't had any stomach symptoms whatsoever.
Okay, so here's the thing about...
Now, I would say to do the carnivore diet, I would still incorporate fruits and vegetables in it. I wouldn't eliminate fruits and vegetables. I wouldn't, personally. Not me. I would still add fruit and vegetables, but only fruit and vegetables that, you know, that hasn't been sprayed and tampered with. You know what I mean? No vegetables in a bag. Try to stay away from vegetables in a can if you can. But, you know, try to have fresh produce and... I mean, try to stay away from pesticides that spray all of your stuff. If you eat that way, fresh fruits and vegetables, then you'll be good with it and add that to your carnivore diet.
About gas, it's not just about being bloated and uncomfortable, but methane gas buildup in the intestine can actually slow down the contractile processes in the small intestine, which can result in constipation. Ironically, we've been told for decades that the solution to constipation is more fiber.
How could you get as strong as an ox without eating any meat? Have you ever seen an ox eating meat?
I just do the same things as these big grey things out here. We're trying to protect elephant and rhino. I just stick to plants.
Cellulose is really hard to break down. Well, unless you're an animal like a cow.
In the pro-vegan documentary The Game Changers, they argued that, well, gorillas eat tons of plants and they're really big and strong.
I mean, look at a gorilla. A gorilla will f you up in 2 seconds. What does a gorilla eat?
But gorillas have a completely different and huge gut designed to handle tons and tons of plant fiber. Gorillas, by the way, are well known for constantly burping and passing gas throughout the day.
And also, they burp a lot and they are incredibly gassy. They are actually burping and farting a lot as well.
The thing about our guts is that they were specifically adapted for eating meat and fat. It's well known that during our evolution, our brains suddenly and rapidly increased in size. At the same time our brains got bigger, our guts shrank. This trade-off meant that more energy could be allocated to our energy-expensive brains. But now, with smaller guts, we would have had to rely on more efficient, calorie and nutrient-dense foods like meat and fat. Our gut is excellent at completely digesting meat, thanks to our stomach acid, which is actually even stronger than many carnivorous animals. Okay, so what happens when you eat only meat? This woman feeds her show cats an all-meat diet.
Oh, I do raw meat. Add little chicken hearts on top. He loves the hearts.
She brags that one of the benefits of this is that there is considerably less poop to deal with.
98% of what they eat, their body absorbs. It's 1 week's worth of poop in this entire bag for all these cats.
Vilhjalmur Stefansson, too, noted that he straight up reduced his poop production by about 80% when he ate a meat-only diet. That doesn't mean he's constipated. That means that the majority of what he eats is completely digested, so he doesn't have as much stuff to deposit into the toilet. And similarly, today, many people are reporting that on the carnivore diet, they simply produce much less waste.
So I listened to the doctors, I ate more.
Well, that makes sense with what I just read to you, doesn't it? Waste is what did I just say? Waste is this right here. Undigested food, dead cells, bacteria, and other byproducts the body cannot use. So he's basically in a line with what I'm saying.
Fiber. I consumed more plants and I ended up losing my entire colon.
Kent Carnivore probably has the clearest evidence of how much easier meat digests than plants. He had to have his colon removed, so rather than using the toilet, he has to empty a colostomy bag which is connected directly to his small intestine, meaning he can see exactly how things are digested.
I've eaten both a plant-based diet, even since having this bag after my surgery, and eating a carnivorous diet. As I wear a bag, I can actually see, because I empty this thing multiple times a day, all animal products, right? Even red meat, they are all broken down entirely. Think about now plants, right? You find plants in your poop. If you just swallowed pieces of sweet corn, carrot and peas and stuff like that, they're still there intact. Red meat, it's a breeze.
He now sticks to a carnivore diet for several health benefits, including dramatically better digestion and gut health.
I create very little gas and wind in the bag, right? Doesn't really happen so much. When I was eating plants, my bag filled up with air like I was blowing it up like a balloon.
Now, before we move on, let's finally look at a 2021 study that surveyed 2,029 carnivore dieters. 531 people said that they were doing the carnivore diet specifically to try and treat gut issues. I'd bet the average doctor would worry that this diet would worsen their patient's gut issues. But the complete opposite happened. Almost everyone, 97% of 531 people, improved or completely resolved their gut condition by eating a zero fiber, zero plant food diet. At the end of the day, I'm not trying to argue that fiber is bad for everyone, but it certainly seems to be the case for some people. Further, the idea that we all absolutely need fiber clearly isn't right.
The idea that you need fiber, it's like, no, you don't. That's wrong. And are plants necessary? Doesn't appear to be. You can live on meat.
Now, I know it's hard to make sense of this when we've been told for years about how fatty meat causes heart disease and all these other problems. People have been claiming that meat causes this or that ailment since the early 1900s, which is why people were baffled when Vilhjalmur Stefansson and Carsten Anderson had success on a year of just meat.
I think the thing with the plants is like what I said. You have to know it's fresh produce. You don't, because we don't know what they do to the well. We have an idea of what they do to the plants and vegetables and fruits when they send it to the grocery store, you know. So I would say if you're gonna eat plants from an actual, either you grow them yourself or you get them from a farmer who takes care of their plants that they grow. You know, they take care of what they grow. They're very mindful of how and what soil and all that good stuff. I think if you look at it from that perspective and you eat from that perspective, the plants probably won't have as much as a issue as far as undigesting. Corn, I wouldn't count corn. I wouldn't eat no, not corn. I would, if it came to plants, I would go by color. I would try to keep green, red, and either yellow or orange, and stay away from like heavy starches like potatoes and corn, and you know, carrots sparingly. Just depends, because I would say it just depends on your demographic, because each demographic is different, because we're all from different parts of this earth. So it just depends on what your body can work with when it comes to eating certain vegetables, you know what I mean? So you just have to kind of like test it out and see. But as far as meat goes, I think everybody would be on the same boat when it comes to meat. Even if you're from a tropical climate or if you're even from a colder climate, you know, because colder climate, you probably have to rely more on fish than you did like meat. Well, I say meat, still fish as opposed to like land animal meat. You probably still had land animal meat, but not as much, but it's still meat though. It's still the same concept. It's still the same idea as far as land meat, you know, so you still had the same thing. So protein both ways, whether it was in a cold or tropical climate, works on both the demographics, I would say.
Actually, just recently, Harvard claimed that red meat is linked to diabetes. Ironically, that earlier study on 2,029 carnivore dieters was done by a team of researchers out of Harvard University. While we're limited to just this one paper, it does suggest that if the carnivore diet could be sold as a pill, it would immediately be the absolute best diabetes drug on the planet.
There it is right there. In the future, we will eliminate the soul with medicine. They'll stick anything in a pill to make you take their medicine. I mean, it's right there. Clear as day. Pfizer. Clear as day.
402 of the people in the study said that they went carnivore to manage their diabetes or insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is basically the first step that leads to diabetes. The carnivore diet was so effective that 74% of these people completely resolved their diabetes or insulin resistance, and 24% of them improved their condition. Putting that together, that's 98% of them experiencing a benefit from a meat-only diet. So, how could red meat cause diabetes if an only meat diet seems to be fantastically effective for treating diabetes? Actually, a Dr. John Rollo famously cured 2 diabetic patients way back in 1797 with a diet of only meat and fat. Okay, but before we move on, here's the other thing. A 2009 paper says that insulin resistance itself is likely the most single important cause of heart disease. Okay, so then how can red meat and saturated fat cause heart disease if insulin resistance is the most important cause of heart disease and a diet of only meat and fat reverses insulin resistance? When I first heard about this diet, I wasn't surprised that many people had benefits. After all, the diet cuts out processed food, wheat, soy, sugar, and vegetable oils. What really surprised me was that people were still experiencing improvements when switching from a very clean diet of just meat and greens to meat only.
I have to cut out the goddamn greens. Within a week, I was 25% less anxious in the morning, and I've been better every single day.
So why would cutting out the greens be good for some people? The simple fact is that the animals we eat will try to protect themselves by running away. Plants can't run away, so they have to protect themselves by attempting to poison whatever eats them.
We learned 20 years ago that Brussels sprouts alone had over 136 identified human carcinogens in them. But also spinach, kale, lettuce, celery, cabbage, cucumber, broccoli, every plant that you've ever come across in the grocery store. And not a single one had less than 60 known human carcinogens in them. I'm telling you, this is why kids, no one likes Brussels sprouts, right? You know, that bad taste, that bitter taste is your brain and your tongue. They can tell you like, hey, this is bad for you, spit it out. Plants are trying to kill you.
How are they, Ralph?
My heart's fine.
I don't know. There could be some truth to that. I mean, at the same time, maybe, just maybe, I mean, this is me thinking, maybe we're supposed to just get our plants from the animals, you know, because animals are going to eat the plants. So then when the animals digest the plant and then, you know, we properly sacrifice the animal and eat the animal, then we get all of the stuff that the animal ingested, which is the plants as well as the protein. So maybe the circle of life works in that way. The plants are for the animals are for the human, but not in a way where, you know, we got freaking fast food joints and, you know, like just also, but then again, also I would say it still goes with demographic. It just all depends on your demographic. But let's continue this video. Let's see what we got. Here we go.
Good? They taste like burning.
Many everyday plant foods can be very dangerous to your dog, like avocados, chocolate, chives, garlic, onions, leeks, coffee, tea, grapes, macadamia nuts, walnuts, mushrooms, and other things. Plants create toxins because they're trying to prevent us from eating them. We of course know about all kinds of human allergies to plants like peanuts, tree nuts, soybeans, and wheat, but there are various other plant toxins that some people can react to.
The foods that are the worst, right, in terms of what's going to cause the most inflammation, the most gas, obstructions: mushrooms, celery, cabbage, carrots, onions, nuts and seeds, pineapple, mango, brown rice.
Oh, Daddy, this tastes like Grandma.
I wonder if melanin plays a role in plants and in food, you know what I mean? Because just to be honest, just calling a spade, there ain't no melanated people that he's referring to when it comes to this study. So I wonder if that actually makes a difference as far as what to eat. You know what I mean? Because like I said, different demographics, if you're, you know, born in a cold or tropical climate, but then also I wonder if melanin also plays a difference in what you eat. Because, you know, melanin is a high commodity. I mean, you can't deny that.
In 2013, 5 little girls went to the hospital with second-degree burns after getting lime juice on their skin. A compound in the limes made their skin extremely sensitive to UV light. In 1989, a diabetic alcoholic man died just a few hours after eating tons of sorrel soup. Sorrel is similar to spinach, and like spinach, it has plenty of oxalate. A paper on oxalate-induced kidney damage presents several case reports confirming kidney damage in people ingesting a large amount of oxalate-rich foods, like peanuts, cashews, almonds, black tea, celery, beets, spinach, and so on. There are all kinds of other plant toxins. For example, the gliadin protein in wheat can damage the gut lining. Protease inhibitors in things like grains, nuts, and seeds, and soy can interfere with your digestion of protein. But obviously most of us can handle most plant foods. For example, sure, pineapple makes my mouth feel a bit weird, spinach makes me kind of queasy, gluten makes me a little sluggish, and mangoes, peanuts, and cauliflower can make me a little bit gassy. Honestly, it's not that big of a deal if I eat those every now and then. However, if I ate a lot of them every single day, I would start feeling pretty uncomfortable and low on energy. So the idea is that maybe small amounts of a variety of plant toxins at every single meal, every single day, can add up to where some people develop issues, even though they don't necessarily have a specific food allergy. Also, it's worth noting that we can't even absorb much of the nutrients in certain plants. For example, people say spinach is a good source of iron, but the oxalate in spinach blocks absorption of that iron. One study found only 2% of iron from spinach is absorbed. Beans are thought to be a good source of zinc, but there are several anti-nutrient compounds in beans that block the absorption of that zinc. In fact, if you eat black beans with oysters, the anti-nutrients in the beans even block the absorption of the zinc from the oysters. One study found that the anti-nutrients in corn were so potent that corn tortillas almost entirely blocked any zinc from oysters from being absorbed. Further, fiber itself has been found to block the absorption of minerals. We so often hear about how plants are chock full of this vitamin or that mineral, but I don't think most people realize you can get all the essential nutrients from just animal products. In fact, many nutrients are often better absorbed from meat. Even animal protein is better absorbed than plant protein.
I would get hangry, hungry and angry and irritable. That is gone.
Want delicious, easy meals that are good for you?
Said he gets hungry and angry. All right. So, I mean, again, it all does play a role in demographics of people, I would say, but it's still but there's still like oh, whoops. What did I do? Oh, there you go. Didn't know that I could hit that. But it would still, be somewhat universal when it comes to protein. But anyway, let's continue. I'm looking up something real quick as we're looking at this video, so bear with me. Here we go.
Completely.
I had anxiety and depression. I was very irritable all the time. Switching to the carnivore diet, I noticed this whole thing lifted, and suddenly I had mental clarity, I had energy, I had optimism.
Almost within I'd say like a week or so, I noticed that my anxiety levels lowered.
Especially now carnivore, I have control over my anxiety.
My energy was way up, my sleep was up, depression gone.
Let's take a look at why in the world mental health has improved for so many people doing a carnivore diet. First off, animal foods pack plenty of vitamins critical for brain function. Things like iodine, iron, zinc, B vitamins, vitamins A and D, choline, creatine, and others. This may have a role in why a 2021 study found that people who don't eat meat have a significantly higher risk of depression and anxiety.
I talked to a psychiatrist at McLean's Hospital. He's starting a treatment center at McLean's based on essentially on a carnivore diet to treat endogenous depression, manic depressive disorder, and schizophrenia.
Now, as many people have pointed out, yes, there is certainly barely any research studying people on a carnivore diet, much less specifically looking at why mental health issues like depression would improve on this diet. But one reason may be inflammation. There are tons of papers on the role of inflammation in depression. Studies have found that people with depression have up to 50% higher levels of biomarkers for inflammation, and the risk of depression increases as inflammation increases. It's well known that giving the highly inflammatory substance, LPS, to various types of animals will reliably produce behavior that looks like depression or anxiety. And yes, a study in humans as well found that when people were injected with LPS, they experienced a dramatic rise in inflammation and very quickly experienced an increase in depressive symptoms like anxiety, feelings of social disconnection, and anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure.
It's a panic attack.
Further, obesity, which is accompanied by higher levels.
Wow, the inability to feel pleasure. That's wild. All from a diet. Who would have known?
Of inflammation is associated with depression. In fact, many of the known risk factors for depression increase inflammation.
When arthritis pain makes the stairs feel like a summit.
In Upton Sinclair's 1911 book, The Fasting Cure, he claims that 5 cases of arthritis were cured by fasting, With arthritis, the joints become swelled and painful because they are so inflamed. This might just sound like an old tale, but a 1983 paper did find that a 7-day fast dramatically reduced people's arthritis symptoms and cut markers of joint inflammation almost in half. Now, that's an old study, but several other studies, like this one from 1991 and another one from 2021, suggested that indeed, fasting can improve arthritis symptoms.
Today is day 21 of my introduction to carnivore. My toe, that's been bothering me for years, I can almost not feel any of the arthritis pain that I was getting in it.
My mom went on the diet and her osteoarthritis went away.
One of the huge health issues that Mikhaila Peterson fixed on her carnivore diet was arthritis that was so severe that she had to have surgery to replace the joints in her ankle and hip. Now, Mikhaila wasn't fasting, but the similarity between carnivore and fasting is that they both put you in ketosis. When you stop eating carbs for long enough, you go into ketosis, which is where your liver starts producing ketones from fat. And it's been clear since 2008 that increasing ketone production reduces inflammation in humans.
I had a host of inflammatory conditions, including peripheral uveitis, and it disappeared completely, along with psoriasis and gastric reflux disorder.
There are now a lot of papers on how anti-inflammatory keto is. In the textbook Ketogenic Diet and Metabolic Therapies, there's a whole chapter dedicated to keto's anti-inflammatory properties and how keto may help certain inflammatory diseases. Remember that inflammatory substance LPS that researchers injected in rodents and humans to cause inflammation and anxiety and depression-like symptoms? This study found that ketosis is so anti-inflammatory that rodents doing a keto diet were significantly protected from the inflammatory effects of that LPS injection. Okay, so there is a serious lack of research on carnivore diets and mental health, but there is a decent amount of research finding keto diets to be beneficial for depression.
Almost my whole life being depressed, with taking methylated B vitamins and going on to a ketogenic diet.
Man, I'll tell you what, it seems like all these people are depressed. Whoever is selling the drug for depression, I'll tell you what, they have destroyed a bunch of people with their connection to consciousness. And now they probably seem very intelligent, but they will not develop consciousness because all these people with anxiety and depression, boy, they dope them people up. They dope the hell out of these people up, boy, because that's all I hear. Anxiety, depression, anxiety, depression, anxiety, depression. And I'm taking all these drugs. And as you know, these people over here was doped up on these drugs. And like he said here, we will eliminate the soul with medicine. So yeah, you get what I'm saying. They probably ain't got no soul at this point.
I have been medication free and completely symptom free for 3.5 years.
He was diagnosed with bipolar disorder.
I was so manic, I was so psychotic.
Matt saw more than 40 clinicians, tried 29 different medications.
I was taking all the medication as prescribed, and I was still sick.
In 2020, Jan reached out to Dr. Christopher Palmer. His suggestion for Matt, a ketogenic diet.
They taking all these medicines. They will they will be extremely intelligent, but they will not develop consciousness. Excuse me, I'm eating a cough drop or something from my throat. That is the true goal of some materialistic circles. With such a vaccine or medicine, you can easily make the etheric body detach from the physical body. Once the etheric body separates, the relationship between the universe and the etheric body will become extremely unstable. Man will become an automaton because the physical body of man must be polished on this earth by spiritual will. I'm just saying, man, this is crazy. It's crazy. It's like you're seeing it happen in real time.
Matt started a medical keto diet.
It was life-changing. I'd gone manic every March. I had to take 20 milligrams of this medication or more. I went on the diet. March of 2021, I sailed through 5 milligrams of this medication. No symptoms of hypomania, zero.
Now, inflammation isn't the sole reason ketosis is good for mental health. For example, Dr. Chris Palmer explains that the key benefit of a keto diet is...
Hold on. Okay. Sorry. I had to look up the word automaton because I didn't know what it meant. And one of the things when you read, don't ever go over a word that you don't understand because then you probably won't understand. You are not going to understand what you're reading because words have meaning. So for you to skip over a word you understand is foolish. But here we go. This is crazy. All right, check this out. I keep having to go back to this. So watch this. I'm going to start here. Once the etheric body separates, the relationship between the universe and the etheric body will become extremely unstable, and man will become an automaton because the physical body of man must be polished on this earth by spiritual will. Do you know what an automaton is? All right. And if I cut this into short, this is basically speaking on the future. We will eliminate the soul with medicine. So this is speaking on people who've taken. This is a group of people who are trying to eliminate the human from being connected to consciousness and trying to disconnect them from their soul by using medicine. So what I just read to you right here, it says that man would become an automaton through using a lot of medication and stuff like that, with them trying to disconnect you from consciousness. An automaton, second sense of a definition, a machine that performs a function according to a predetermined set of coded instructions, especially one capable of a range of program responses to different circumstances. Like, I mean, that right there is crazy. Man would become an automaton because the physical body of man must be polished on this earth by spiritual will. So they're taking away that spiritual will and turning you into an automaton. Coded, predetermined set of coded instructions. When you think of it like that, it makes a hell of a lot of sense. When you have, what they call nowadays NPCs and people who kind of like go with the code or go with what, you know what I mean? It makes sense now when you break this down. It makes too much sense. The vaccine becomes kind of a aromatic force. Man can no longer get rid of the materialistic sentiment that has been given to him. He becomes materialistic in constitution. That is basically, in your genetic code, and can no longer elevate himself to the spiritual. My God. Let's continue.
Is that it is correcting defective metabolisms. And he says that
mental disorders are actually metabolic disorders affecting the brain.
But in any case, unless you're eating a ton of dairy or barely any fat on a carnivore diet, you're very likely going to be in ketosis. But as we already discussed, several people experience further mental health benefits when transitioning from a low-carb keto diet to a completely carnivore diet. That's a bit puzzling, but
you look at his eyes. He's reading. He's doing a good job though, but he's reading.
It may be because these people are especially sensitive to those toxins that plants make to defend themselves.
And it's really quite something seeing these people. They're still shell-shocked by the transformation, because it's really something to lose, say, 150 pounds in a year.
When I interviewed my wife and we talked about her carnivore diet, I'd say 99% of people who had the exact same story as her.
Well, and I've met literally hundreds of people on my tour, they show me pictures.
But it was going to be a 30-day experiment. I thought, how bad could it be? And here I am 10 years later.
So is this the perfect diet you should be doing forever? Well, Jordan Peterson and Dr. Sean Baker are two famous cases of doing this diet for extremely long, over 6 years straight, and they're doing great. This isn't the case for everyone though.
But after a year and a half, I quit the carnivore diet. I know that, like myself, there are a lot of people who eat carnivore or ketogenic diets and they run into issues.
Dr. Paul Saladino was a very prominent advocate of a pure carnivore diet.
I don't think there are any risks to eating animal foods exclusively. There are no risks.
Eating a carnivore diet led to full resolution of my autoimmune condition, eczema, itchy rashes, and asthma that I'd had for my whole life.
He even wrote a book about it in 2019. Finally, he ended up introducing some specific carbohydrates into his meat-heavy diet. Because he was having electrolyte issues, his free testosterone was lower, and his thyroid function was lower. So why exactly the diet stops being magical for some people is a big question for another time. But for now, one issue that people can run into while on a keto or carnivore diet is low electrolytes. Which brings us to the sponsor of this video.
Nice try, but we're not going to look at that. However, we're going to end the video right there. That was a very informative and good video by him. I really enjoy his videos. What I've learned, he has really great videos. I really enjoy them. So I like using his videos. But what we learned today is that a protein diet is good. It's a very good diet. I would honestly say eating a predominant carnivore diet is good, and focusing on plants that have a high protein content to them as well. You know, like broccoli. Eat those kind of greens that have a high protein content. And, if you're eating, animals who are already grass fed, they've already eaten all the vitamins and minerals and nutrients that you need. That's why you're getting your nutrients from the animals. But still, eat a healthy source of fruits and vegetables. Just make sure that they're not pesticide filled with all sorts of sprays and chemicals. And I think that's what a lot of people's body is reacting to. But also, with the carnivore diet, did you hear all the medications that these people were on prior to, switching over to the carnivore diet? Anxiety, depression, anxiety, depression, having arthritis, and a lady had to get freaking hip surgery, and people had like arthritis in their knees and stuff like that. Like all that is from a diet of, let's say a failed diet, but a diet of believing, what we were told all this time. And then when you sit here and you think about it, if we were hunter-gatherers back in the day, not if, but we were hunter-gatherers back in the day, right? If we had to hunt, well, when the men had to hunt, what do you think they were eating? They were probably eating like a plant here and there just to kind of get them by. Maybe not, but they still had to like go run and chase it. So whatever they were eating, they were burning off, and it probably wasn't a lot of whatever plant they were eating. What got them good was the meat. When they finally got it, cut it up and did whatever, that meat is what kept them satiated and, filled up their bodies, and it was used to give them muscles and help build the muscles that they had. May have not have been a lot. It was enough that the body needed. Kept them lean, and it kept them in the shape that they needed to be in for the activity that they were performing in order to survive, to eat and survive. It's kind of like a military person, like a Navy SEAL or what is it called? What is it called? You have Navy SEALs, Green Berets, the Marine. I forget what the Marine called, but the way their body is shaped to perform the task that they have to perform. I mean, they could be big and strong, but they're not like bodybuilders. The body's a little bit more lean. They got to carry stuff. They got to move and crouch and duck down and hold up a gun and all these different things. Their body is shaped differently for the task at hand. Does that make them weaker than a bodybuilder? No. They probably have more functional strength and more mobile than a bodybuilder. You know what I mean? For the task at hand. They probably have less body fat. It just depends on what the situation is. So just eating a certain diet just depends on what you're doing. But I believe that a predominant protein diet is way more better for the body if the body naturally already produces glucose, or is it glycogen? It's one of them. Whatever is for carbs. Forgive me for forgetting. But your body already naturally produces that, so you can really go without carbs. You don't really need it. It's just only if you're going to expel the energy, because then eventually your body's going to turn it into waste because you can't use it. So there's that. So keep that in mind. Anyway, that's going to be it for the fitness segment of the show. Like I said, this show is going to be rough for me because I have a sore freaking throat, so I'm trying not to talk as much, but I still got to speak as much as I can. But shout out to him for that video right there. All right, so let's go ahead and slide on over to the next segment of the show, which is going to be the economy segment of the show. So let's go ahead and get a little sexy lady up in here and have her transfer us over to the economy segment of the show. Let's go.
Welcome to the economy segment of the show. Enjoy.
Oh yeah, we will enjoy, sweetie. We will enjoy. Let me change that banner out right there. So for the economy segment of the show, the first thing I'm going to tap into is going to be, I'm still chewing something from my throat because my throat is sore. So yeah, don't mind me. What we're going to look at first is we're going to look at day 6. Day 6 of the government shutdown. As you may or may not know, there's a government shutdown going on over here, and people, unfortunately, is not getting paid. It's a sad world. But that's where we're at right now. The last time we had a government shutdown was last time President Trump was in office. He had the longest government shutdown, as I had did a I had a list of government shutdowns from the 70s up to current time. And as I looked at all of the presidents that did government shutdowns since the 70s, Trump had the longest one of like 32 or 34 days or something like that. And now he's at it again. If he had the longest one last time, I wonder if he's going to beat that and have a longest one again this time. Now, it's the overall consequences of this government shutdown in the end looks like it's going to be so severe. I don't know if this is to attack immigration. I don't know what the point of it is. You know, what I do know is that the Affordable Care Act, for people who have that, it's going to jack up to 114% increase if things don't, if things don't fix at some point. Like if things don't work out good, then the affordable healthcare plan or whatever, that's going to go up over 100%. And that's going to be very harmful to, lower income people. So as I have right here on the screen, let me change out this banner real quick. Where's the banner? Switch the banner out, put it on the economy. There we go. So what we have here is we have the White House. We have the government shutdown. So 6 days, 13 hours and counting. And as you can see here, the days are still going and stuff like that. You have right here your view of the economic impact on the shutdown in your state. Read your state's letter in support for a clean CR. CR meaning I forgot, but we can look at by state. I've done this already, but you see we're 6 days into it. And yeah, it's not looking too shabby so far. But if we look at, what is this? Oh wait, that's not what I wanted. If we look at this video right here, this is going to talk about where the shutdown over money for illegal migrants and why Democrats protest for food stamps and Medicaid. So we're going to watch this video, and this is by Anton Daniels. So we're going to see how and what people think and how people are doing through this government shutdown from number one, not getting paid. And then people are, protesting for food stamps and Medicaid, because that's another thing that will get shut down. Food stamps, Medicaid, because those are government funded sources and stuff like that. So people who are on food stamps, Medicaid, and any government assistance, that's going to get shut down too. Plus any kind of health care will get shut down over time too. So all these things are going to go up. And I don't know if this is in Trump's, I don't know if this is in Trump's fight towards immigrants and trying to, get everything away from them and bring it back to Americans, which if that's what he's trying to do, then there's going to be a lot more pain before there's gain. It's going to, I get it if that's what you're aiming for, but boy, you about to put a lot of people in pain. Boy, it's about to be extremely painful. If that's what you're aiming for, Jesus. And it's going to be a while because they had got a lot of benefits over these past, 5-10 years. They got a lot of benefits, man. They got a lot of benefits. And we're going to also see the amount of benefits on the next video when we look at the subprime car loans. But for right now, let's go ahead and take a look at this video and get a deeper insight to see what's going on. So let's go ahead and roll this video. Let's go.
I've been trying to find a way to say this politely. I don't really care if I upset anybody, but I kind of do. So I work across the hall from the Department of Human Services in a small town in Texas. And since 21, that place has been a revolving door. There were days that they would have people lined up outside waiting for services. If you don't know what their services are, that's the food stamps and the free healthcare. So that leads me to talk about the government shutdown. And I understand we're going without a paycheck. I get it. And I don't want my coworkers to get super mad at me for saying this, but I'm pretty sure they are. And the liberals are going to come at me in the comments. Because I'm blonde, I'm pretty, and I'm white. So go just Timu Barbie, whatever y'all.
Hold on. Oh my God. Hey, I appreciate the honesty. I like that. That was a good one. Round of applause for you, sweetie. Yes. All right, let's continue.
Y'all always like to call me. Anyway, so I saw it firsthand that those services are being abused, and it's not by Americans. It's by illegals, and it's by males. It's one thing when you have a family that is illegal US citizen, taxpayer that needs help with food, housing, medical insurance, that is not an issue. That I'm 110% okay with that. Like, help people. But I have a huge problem with an able-bodied male from another country coming over here and basically just mooching off the system, because that's what they're doing. They're not contributing to society. They're not doing anything. So that, it really is, it's an issue that needs to be addressed. And if people would really step back and look at this situation, you would understand that that's not sustainable. That's not something that we can keep doing. So if we have to go without a paycheck to fix this broken system, then so be it.
Listen. All right, so she's saying for the able-bodied males coming in, the illegal able-bodied males. Also, don't forget about the illegal able-bodied females. I'm going to have to, go on the opposite on that. I'm not disagreeing with her, but what about the able-bodied females? This able-bodied females that come in here, they probably use their kid as, like, woe is me. But then on the back door, they are basically, prostituting themselves and selling sex. And then, not getting a job, don't need a job because the government's taking care of them. But then they have this kid for sympathy. So what about those able-bodied females? Both of them, the male and the female like that, they destroying it. You know what I mean? So it goes away. It goes on both sides. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not disagreeing with her. I'm just adding to it. So you have it happening on both sides, and it's putting a hell of a dent in the system. But I would let him talk. Well, you know what? Go ahead and talk, because I don't feel like talking too much and my throat does hurt. So go ahead. I'll let you talk a little bit, bro.
We all know that the Biden administration and all of these governors and all of these liberal mayors have benefited off of having illegal migrants so that they can plug budget deficits and they could petition for more money from the federal government so that they can then finesse the system, because they never actually are doing their job and balancing the budget based off of what's going into the coffers. And illegal migrants have been a scourge. And I'm not saying migrants, illegal migrants have been a scourge on the United States of America in every way possible. And everybody here should be excited, ecstatic that Trump is fixing this problem.
That's easy to say when you're well off. You know what I mean? Because there's people who, yeah, he's fixing the problem, but there's some people who financially ain't well off, and it's hurting like a mofo. Like, it is hurting like hell. So for you to sit there and say that, a little disingenuous. Like, you're good, but there's people out there that's like hurting, in pain, and they're hurting. They're probably, selling off assets and all sorts of things just to get by, and this pain that they have to go through just for it to fix. You know what I mean? It's not, and it's not just this problem. It's a bunch of problems that are happening all at once. So, I mean, you can say that, but at the same time, you don't seem like you're in pain while you're saying this. So I'm gonna disagree with you on that one. That ain't it. That's not it. I mean, it should be good to fix the problem. Yeah, I get you, but man, the pain that some people are going through, they losing their ass to, the situation at hand. And Trump did say when he got in office, it's gonna hurt a lot before it gets better. And he wasn't lying. So, that's that. But let me go ahead and get on to the next thing. I want to see what else he has in here, because I don't want to sit here and let him talk the entire time on this, because I don't want to have his video and then he react to the same thing I'm reacting to. That's kind of intuitive. But yeah, but again, the situation has to be fixed some way, somehow. But my question is, if it's gonna get fixed, how is it gonna get fixed? You know what I mean? He may fix it, but then when the next person comes in, whether it be a Democrat or Republican, if it's a Democrat, Democrat finna go, man, I don't know what's gonna happen if a Democrat get back in here. And if a Republican get in and kind of piggybacks and continues, then we may see the healing. But if a Democrat get in office, boy, they finna go ham next time they get up in office. They finna go ham. But let's continue this video. Here we go. Wait, did she say something else? No, she didn't.
And it voted to keep the government closed for the remainder of
bro.
Democrats in the Senate voted to keep the government closed for the remainder of the weekend. And the question is, are there actually illegal aliens receiving Medicaid? That whole thing is the impetus of our shutdown. And whether you like this or not, it's an undisputed fact that under the Biden administration, there were undocumented immigrants receiving taxpayer-funded health care. Here are the facts. Last year, Medicaid costs for emergency services for illegal aliens skyrocketed 142%, totaling $9.1 billion. From 2020 to 2024, Medicaid spending for emergency services for illegals tripled under Joe Biden, up 196%. In 2023, under the
196. We just go call that 200%.
Tripled under Joe Biden, up 196%. In 2023, under the Biden administration, South California's, and I quote, entire healthcare system was being bombarded by illegal aliens, enforcing American citizens to endure longer wait times. In Denver, Colorado, the CEO of Denver Health stated that 8,000 illegal immigrants made 20,000 visits to the city's health center in 2023. That all left an uncompensated bill totaling over $10 million.
And I will tell you that all of these cities and all of these states are under a financial duress burden, which is one of the reasons why we used to raise the national deficit to help bail out all of these cities, but they need to go back to pre-COVID era spending, which means that you're going to have to kick illegal migrants off of the titty and the nipple. And we're not even talking about all of the way.
Again, I don't want to hear him talk.
Wide closed because they acting like they don't really see this happening in real time. It's a real thing.
Congressional Budget Office estimates that there are about 1.2 million illegal immigrants receiving Medicaid. Those are just a few examples. So that's why in the one big beautiful bill that was passed a few months ago, the Trump administration and Republicans made sure that those who are not American citizens were not receiving free taxpayer-funded health. Democrats want to add all that money back and give people who did not deserve free health care free health care. If somebody says to you there are no illegal aliens receiving Medicaid, you show them this.
Not a conspiracy. I'm losing brain cells trying to fucking explain this to people. They are getting health care. This is where people are getting confused. There's states out there, 14 of them, that have passed state laws. California is the big one that gives illegal aliens health care. Full, not just ER services. Newsom uses provider taxes and he taxes the fuck out of all of these hospitals, doctors, all this shit. He reimburses them and taxes them to the fucking highest degree. Creates higher Medicaid and Medi-Cal payments. Then the feds come in, they match at 90% under the ACA expansion, and they give California billions of dollars. Newsom literally uses this federal influx to free up California's budget for Medi-Cal's huge ass tab of non-emergency care for 1.8 million illegals, so he can solely rely on our fucking state taxes.
What you see happening in places like California that's also under a budget crisis.
I mean, they're under a budget crisis, but if they're getting a kickback on the back end, then it just makes sense to what they're doing. So, okay, there's a little insight on why exactly, the shutdown is happening. So I guess that would explain why this thing says this right here. It says right here, the Democrats have shut down the government. The Democrats have shut down the government. I wasn't sure who shut it down. I just know it happened. And I was like, it's just about to get real. It's not about to be pretty. You know what I mean? Like, things are about to start happening. And the longer the shutdown happens, then all the food stamps and the Medicaid and the health care, and then it's going to shoot up over 100%. But it's just doing this because Trump that man is hell-bent on illegal immigrants, which I get it. It makes sense for what he's trying to do. If that's his agenda and that's what he's coming in to do, I get that. And in order to fix that, it's going to take some time. I don't know if it'll be done within the 4 years he's here, but he's been moving at an astounding pace. I mean, he's been moving hella fast. Like, this dude has been, I've said this before. He's going to set the precedence for how fast the future presidents can move. Because don't say in the future, I'm trying to sign an executive order. People are going to be like, hell no, sign it. We saw Trump sit down and sign executive orders for like weeks and months at a time and like never stop. So don't come at us with this. You're trying to do something. So yeah, Trump is setting the record on how things are going to go. But as far as what he's doing, him trying to get all the illegals off of the government titty, sort of say. I mean, if this is the way that he's getting it done, I don't know if it's the right or wrong way, but I mean, I don't know no other way you can do it, because, you know, he has ICE out there deporting people. And then if you can't deport all the people, then whatever is giving them assistance, you got to take that away. So, I mean, I get it. It makes sense as to how he's moving, as to what he's doing. So it does make sense. And, you know, you have, you know, and then, you know, you have women who are in survival mode. If the men can come over here, then you probably have women who will marry illegal immigrants just to get the free benefits off of them. You know, women will do that. So it just plays this big spiral, you know what I mean? And when you shut all that down at once, I think in the end it'll have a positive effect. But then again, I'm under the impression like we live in a society where you need to be an entrepreneur and not really rely on the government. So whatever's going on, you need to just stay focused and do what you're doing. And all that's happening, all that extra noise, ignore that noise, stay focused and mind your business and tend to what you got to do. So none of this stuff around you affects you. You know, keep walking faith and not fear. So none of that extra stuff that's going on, like all this extra things that are happening, don't even bother you, because that's something you don't want to be in. You know what I mean? So that's how I see it. But yeah, shout out to him with that video. Give him a round of applause on that one. I like that one. So now we're going to take a look at another video. And this video that we're going to look at right here, this is going to be in a video from Orlando Mine. I like doing these videos. We're looking at luxury car owners are begging to return them. You know what I mean? They're looking at luxury cars and they want to return them. So now we're going to look at luxury car owners. And then after this, we're also going to look at the subprime immigration loans on cars. So we're about to see a big hit when it comes to the auto loan industry. So let's go ahead and hop on this first video and let's take a look at all this what we're about to deal with. Here we go.
I never thought I would be one of those people that got on social media crying or visibly upset about anything, but I am completely devastated right now. I had my dream.
So she got a filter on. You over here crying with a filter on. Shame on you.
Car, my 2022 Audi Q3 that I worked so hard for, and I took it into Jiffy Lube for a routine oil change. It was my first time ever going there, and within an hour,
I don't see no tears
of leaving the shop, my fucking engine was completely blown.
Who could have saw that happening?
I mean, you took it to the dealership, bro. Wait, no. She said the Jiffy Lube. You took a Audi. You took a Audi to the Jiffy Lube, bruh. You deserve whatever happened to your car to take an Audi to the freaking Jiffy Lube. Shame on you.
She took the mink coat to the laundromat.
Sensational.
See, this is something that I've been talking to you guys about for forever, it seems. That I'm telling you guys that you guys are out here buying these Hellcats. You're out here buying these Mercedes-Benz. You're out here buying these luxury cars, knowing you can't afford the maintenance. You're broke! And this is a prime example of it. I mean, you're taking a $100,000 plus car to a Jiffy Lube.
Stop it. Get some help.
Just because you're trying to save a couple of bucks on an oil change. But shouldn't you have known that the maintenance was gonna be super expensive? See, a lot of you guys don't know this. But this video is for you because the economy's going down and you're saying to yourself, my payments are high already. Now you're telling me that I have to pay $1,000 for an oil change? Orlando, you're telling me that for brakes I have to pay $5,000? Yep. This is the car you chose. What did you think was gonna happen when you bought the expensive spaceship? What did you think was gonna happen? But listen, listen, guys. We're not gonna jump in too fast. You need to watch this video. I have Orlando University in here. My name is Orlando. Welcome to the channel, guys. Make sure you hit that. No, look, people change. You know the one thing that brings out pretenders? You know the one thing that shows them the reality? Math.
Got him!
That's facts. You want to know what shows people the reality? Simple math. Exactly. No, he deserves a round of applause for that one. Yes, sir. Yeah, nothing like some good old 1 + 1 = 4 will change your life. And yes.
Math always does it. Listen, I don't care what any of you guys say. Think of all of the biggest pretenders. What ends up being their downfall? Math. When I look at the sheet and I add up 8 + 8, it's not 15. But let me tell you this too. That's how people get tricked.
Wait, what?
See, you guys go into the car dealerships and you think that your only cost is what's on the price tag. Yeah. Let me just be perfectly clear. You thought you were going to go in and buy a $100,000 car and the maintenance was going to be just like a Toyota?
Boy, you crazy.
You thought that you were going to go and buy this $200,000 car, show off to all your friends, and you're going to pay what we pay for oil change? Good luck.
You weird, buddy. Meet Shock Cryoglow.
That's true. People do get cars and they do think for sure that they are going to be paying the same amount on the car as they would on a Toyota. That's why you don't live outside of your means. That'd be one of the biggest problems that people go over is they live outside of their means as soon as they get money. And I've always learned this. When you're getting money, stay broke, if that makes any sense to you. And I've always said this, when you're getting money, have a new level of broke. Okay? Each time, whenever you're making money, have a new broke. So for example, you're getting money, you finally save up your first 5K. Cool. Your new broke should be like $400 to $3,500. You save up 10K. Cool. Your new broke should be like $8,000. You save up 20K. Cool. Your new broke should be like $17,000. That should be your new broke. Your new broke increases. You know what I mean? Then once then you start to figure investing, but you should always have a new broke. Continually being broke at a new level. And that should help you from keeping up with the Joneses. You know what I mean? Because it just doesn't make any sense. That's how people go broke. Because people get $10,000, $20,000 and they blow it on something that's like $15,000, and it's like, well, there went it all. And then but then when they blow it, they don't blow it on an investment. They blow it on something that's depreciating or just completely meaningless. But let's continue.
This is what happens. There is no coincidence why people trade in luxury cars the closer it gets to 50,000 miles. Imagine you buying a $200,000 car knowing you couldn't even get to 50,000 miles because the price of maintenance is too expensive. Look, I can't make it up. Listen, I can't make it up, but don't take my word for it. Do not take my word for it, guys. Listen, because I'm just a guy on YouTube. Forget all of my experience. Forget all of that. Nobody cares about that. Let's go ahead and just show you the receipt. So you can't say Orlando didn't show me any proof.
I have a Mercedes-Benz. It's a 2021. I had to take it into the dealer because the engine light came up. And as many as you know, the factory warranty ends when you hit 50,000 miles or the 4 years.
Always remember this. The dealership nickname is the Stealership. Always remember that. The dealership nickname is the Stealership. Always remember that. Keep that in mind.
Whichever comes first.
Yeah.
The engine light came up. I had to take my car. I took it to the one in downtown LA.
And after 8 days, I was told that I emailed the Mercedes, that's what my email, the main people, and they told me I got a case number because I'm asking for a goodwill repair because they want almost $2,800 to replace the injection fluid, I don't know, injectors.
If it's under warranty, you good. But if it's not under warranty, then they just trying to hit you over the head.
They didn't give me a loaner. I have to rent a car. Also, they charged me $900 for a diagnose. There's 2 diagnoses. The first one,
$900 for a diagnose. $900 just to look at your car. I mean, he even feel the same way I do when he heard that. You see his face? $900 for a diagnosis? Bruh, wow.
I have to rent a car. Also, they charged me $900 for a diagnose. There's 2 diagnoses. The first one, they didn't figure out what it was. And Mercedes-Benz, one of the reasons why I choose to have your car and work hard to make sure I always feel safe. It's because I've never had an issue with you guys. And right now, it's too premature to be going through this. And spend this amount of money. It's ridiculous. And then they didn't offer me a loaner.
Ridiculous? Listen, guys, listen. Ridiculous? You know.
That's what happens when you get an expensive car. You know, you have to understand, if you were driving a previous car that you could take to a Jiffy Lube and then you want to upgrade your vehicle, you got to understand that upgrade on car, your oil change is going to be more expensive. Your tires, when you get new ones, are going to be more expensive. Your everything goes up. The maintenance on that car goes up. And on top of that, you can't take these nicer cars to a regular spot. They have to be serviced somewhere in particular. That's just what it is.
I would say what was ridiculous was buying a car that you didn't realize is going to be expensive to maintain. Fact. I think what's ridiculous is the only way you can get maintenance done to your car is to make a video. And listen, guys, she tagged Mercedes-Benz all through it. You see it's on the front. She thinks that Mercedes is going to say, oh, we got you.
Wow, I would be very surprised.
See, she doesn't understand that Mercedes does this on purpose. Huh? Let me explain this to you guys real quick. You buy an expensive car, you have expensive maintenance.
Write it down and keep it for future reference.
You don't think Mercedes is selling you a $200,000 car and they don't realize, people are going to be coming back here spending $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10,000 on repairs. Excellent. You don't think that Mercedes doesn't have consultants that say, when you build this car, this is residual income that you're going to get. You think sitting.
That was a good point. I never thought about that. When you built this car, this is residual income you're going to get because these are the things that they're going to have to fix. I never thought about that. That's a hell of a good point. Like that, I have to note that one. That's a good point.
In the email asking for a goodwill repair. Listen, guys, listen. Maybe I'm blind to this, but explain it to me, guys. Explain it to me. Have you guys ever went to a mechanic and then went up to him and said, "Hey, my car is broken, and can you give me a goodwill repair?" Yeah, when that means that you fix it for free and I walk out of here because I love your brand.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
See, I know what someone's saying right now. Orlando, I hear you right now. I do. You're basically saying that these expensive cars, you should probably look into the research of what the maintenance is, because normally the maintenance is higher than purchasing the car. That's exactly what I'm saying. But what you're also thinking to yourself is, Orlando, that's cool, but maybe this was a one-off. And I would say to you, you're wrong, because didn't I just say? Didn't I just say? This is part of the business plan. I don't know why you guys think that these are just one-off scenarios.
It's 8 o'clock in the morning. Come with me to get my Mercedes service.
A $3,000 service. Jesus, $3,000 service. And you live in an apartment. Who the hell? I never understood this. This is me. Why would you get a nicer car, a super nice car, and live in an apartment? I don't understand that. Maybe if you live in like an expensive apartment complex area, maybe. But I'm just like, save that money and invest it. Just get a regular car and then save the luxury expensive car for when you get your home. That's how I think. I'm like, if you're going to have a fancy luxury car, don't get one in an apartment. I don't care if it's a nice condo or whatever. Maybe a condo, but like not an apartment, not a nice nothing like that. Like, I would want to park my luxury car in my garage at my house where like nobody knows what I got. You know what I mean? That's just me. That's how I think. I would not get a luxury car and live in an apartment. Just get a regular car and live in an apartment and save that money and invest it in something to get you closer to the home part, or save it for, economic cycles. That's just how I think. I mean, but everybody's different.
So it's 35 degrees out the door, and baby, I got ice on my car. So here we are pulling up to Mercedes. I'm thinking I'm getting a service A because I've hit 55,000 miles. I'm sorry. That's not what I'm getting. That's not what he said I'm getting. This car has never been serviced since it's been purchased. So I am getting a service B. And this is what I'm getting. What am I getting? Why?
So service B, they do the oil change, oil filter, the AC filter behind the glove box gets replaced.
Okay.
They do the brake fluid, so they drain each brake line, they'll pressurize the brake system, and they add new fluid.
Damn.
Within the service, they also rotate and balance your tires, and then do the alignment.
I thought I was tripping, but maybe that's the background noise in her video. I thought I was hearing something.
On the vehicle as well.
Okay.
In addition to that, the car is also at 50,000 miles. Okay. So the spark plugs and the engine air filter are also due at 50,000 miles on this car.
They told me I was coming for a service A.
Yeah.
So service B is about to be how much? Oh my God.
Air pull it up.
$1,800, almost $1,900. Oh my goodness.
Now, listen, guys, listen. I'm not a mechanic, but I do see some trends here. Remember the first girl? She said, this is too soon. But then in this clip, they're naming the exact same thing. Look, the 50,000 trend, you're not beating the allegations. You guys not beating the allegations. It's right here. Every time you guys get closer to that 50,000, you're like, let me turn this in. What's weird about this is you have spent over 100,000. Imagine, guys, spending $100,000 on a car only to be taken out by $5,000.
Wow.
That's a good point. That's a very, very, very good point. And again, I actually co-signed with what he just said in a different way. I said it's just that, well, let me fix his face. I said that it just doesn't make sense getting a luxury car like that in an apartment. Just wait till you get a house or something. I don't care how long the wait is. Just wait, because if you get a house, you should have enough money socked away for such an event if you do the math right. But then again, he talked about math earlier. But let's continue.
You're paying interest on this. $100,000 with interest. $100,000 plus with interest, and $5,000 takes you out.
Life like this sure is sweet, huh? It definitely is.
Listen, I'm not the one counting your pockets, but it seems like you couldn't afford the car to begin with.
Come on, man.
But I know what you guys are saying. Orlando, when we read those that what you had on the screen, it only went up to $1,900. It didn't. Where was the other two? On the screen, it said almost $3,000 or $2,900. Let's go ahead and finish it.
On doing the inspection, I needed my brake pads done in the front and the back. The front ones were, I think,
look at all that.
I don't know which ones were
Get
in
that to y'all
more
for
critical
free.
condition, either the back ones or the front. I don't know. Either way it goes.
Nah, that's not free. That's included in the price. They don't say that though.
It went up to $2,900, y'all.
Look at that.
When doing the inspection, I needed my brake pads done in the front and the back. The front ones were, I think,
look at all that.
I don't know which ones were
Get
in
that to
more
y'all for
critical
free.
condition, either the back ones or the front. I don't know. Either way it goes. It went up to $2,900, y'all.
Look at that. And look. Mercedes said, listen, why we charge you? You can sit in our nice lobby and get waffles. You want a Coke? While we fleece you for $10,000? Hey, it's on us. This is on the consumer side, the employee pizza party. You signed up for, hey, you're living a life of luxury, but just so you know, the luxury portion, it costs. The cost is in the word luxury. There's going to be a cost to listen. Look, this is an Orlando University moment. Let me ask you a question, guys. This is a fairly simple question. We understand that your car will more than likely be your second biggest purchase of your life if you're trying to buy a house. But right now, before you buy a house, it is the most expensive purchase of your life. But let me ask you a question. If you can't afford a car repair, how are you going to afford a house repair? Something ain't right. I'm just saying, this is on a luxury car. We're not talking about Toyotas, guys. We're talking about these luxury cars that you're buying. You bought a BMW. You basically might as well live in it. If you're paying $6,000 in maintenance fees, you ain't got that, right? But you love it when people look at you and you be like, hey.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you something. We don't care. See, that's my point, guys. The point of this Orlando University rant that I'm doing here, this lecture, right, is if you can't afford a car, what makes you think you can afford a house? Maybe we need to slow it down. Remember, I did say this. Some of you guys say you want a house. You don't want a house. I'm not trying to talk you out of buying a house. I'm just trying to give you the realization, because it's obvious that some people don't understand that there is maintenance that comes with all of this. There is nothing you can buy on the face of this earth that does not have maintenance.
I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man.
This is going to be the end of the Orlando University rant, but I need you to hear this. There is nothing that exists when it comes to real estate. When it comes to real estate, that you can get a hybrid of no maintenance and appreciation. If that's what you're looking for.
It felt like I tried hundreds of.
And that's what I say. There's no point in dealing with a high maintenance car if you are rolling around in an apartment. Like, just leave the fancy car alone. Save that money. That money can be used for investments or something better. It doesn't make any sense at all. But keeping up with the Joneses. Let's continue.
Y'all, somebody pinch me. Like, pinch me. Let me put on my shades because I can't be taken serious at this moment, y'all, before I start crying. So, just got my battery done, right? My front and my back brakes are also going out. Front brakes, $3,500, $11.40. Back brakes, $2,500, $13.96. I could have those backwards. All in all, $5,500. I want to rip this up. So I guess I won't be going anywhere that requires me to use my brakes. Come on, baby. See ya. Just get in. Y'all, they playing today.
Look at that. Here's the thing. You should have known that. Again, I am here to tell you, this is for educational purposes only, guys. Look, the truth of the matter is, before you buy these big things, shouldn't you know what it entails, what the maintenance is, how much is it going to cost in the future? Are you guys even looking at if the car is good? Because I would think if you looked up if the car is good, you would look up all the other stuff. But listen, I'm probably wrong on that. Obviously, I'm wrong because you guys are just saying, I want to buy this expensive car just because it's expensive. But then you're shocked when you find out that the maintenance is just as expensive. Remember when 2-3 years ago they told you, oh, it was only going to be $200. It's $400, $500 now.
Do you believe me yet?
And guess what? Your wages haven't changed. Guess what? Everything else is high. Guess what? It's going to be tough. Now you have a luxury car that you're paying ridiculous interest rates on. You now have a luxury car that the maintenance is through the roof, but your job is unstable. You don't even know if you're gonna still have a job. Groceries are now double or triple what they used to be. Your rent or your mortgage is going up. And now you have to think to yourself, can I afford this BMW, Hellcat, Mercedes, Lexus? Can I afford any of these anymore? But here's the difference. Here's the thing, guys. And I want to make this perfectly clear. Just because now you're a little short, you're $1,000 short, that does not mean that you still could have afforded it back then. You know how you go through your change and you're like trying to find the exact amount of money in change to pay someone at a drive-through or whatever it is? That's what you guys are doing with maintenance. Let's go ahead and end this video out on something that will give you a message. Maybe you hear from someone else.
If you can't afford the maintenance of the car, you can't afford the car. Let's stop pretending. It's not just about cars. This is not even about cars. This is about your entire lifestyle. If you have to borrow to keep it up, the rent, the clothes, the flex, the gadgets, let's be honest. You can't afford that lifestyle. It's not just about the price tag. We've talked about this. It's about what it takes to sustain it. And if you're constantly stressed, overworked, always in debt, and still living paycheck to paycheck to keep up, that's not freedom, my guy. That's survival in designer packaging and fake smiles. If external pressure is running your life, if everything you do is to prove something, you're not in charge. You're not living. You are being lived. You have become a puppet. And your entire existence, it's a performance. One that's costing you your peace, your freedom, and your future. Freedom isn't about having more stuff. It's about needing less. Living within your means isn't weakness. It's wisdom. Take your power back. Live real. Live free. No pressure. Just purpose.
Now, some of you
Now that right there is bars. I don't know who that dude is, but that right there is straight bars. Give him a round of applause. Because the last thing you want to do is basically be working for the car, and instead of the car working for you, or like you get a house and you can't afford it, you don't prepare for future economic cycles and understand how things go. Like Orlando was saying earlier, you know, you get the car, but then you didn't see the unforeseen events of groceries going up, you know what I mean? Car maintenance going up, and you know, your mortgage or your rent going up. Like all these things hit you at one time, and you didn't prepare for this. So yeah. Always live under your means. It makes sense. And like I said, prepare accordingly. But like you said, math will be the determining factor.
You guys will watch that and be like, oh, that's a bunch of baloney. YOLO! Listen. I know people. I just know people. Somebody's watching this and they're like, yeah, that was a bunch of baloney on my.
All right. He's almost done with the video, but I'm gonna wrap that one up right there. But shout out to him for this video right here for sure.
Some interesting things.
Oh, whoops. All right, we're gonna have to get this video started here in a second. But yeah, that's one thing, man. Just having a luxury car. It's cool to have one, but you got to know how to prepare for it accordingly. You know what I mean? You can't and to have. I mean, if you're gonna get a luxury car, this is my thing. This is the one thing I've always learned. When I had bought my first car, like my first actual car that I had to like make my own payments to pay off, I learned real quickly I do not like car payments. Car payments it sucks because every month you make the car payment, but then you have maintenance on it. So you got to put like new tires on the car, but you still got to pay for the payments on the car every month. You know, you got to get an oil change, but you still got to make payments. You have a issue with the car, you still got to make the payment. And I was like, this is crap. Like, this is not cool. I'm of the mindset of like, just buy the car flat out and then understand the maintenance and upkeep on the car that you're going to buy flat out. So therefore you don't have monthly payments on the car. So you don't have a monthly bill. You know what I mean? So you eliminate one of those, but well, I guess insurance. But understand the insurance and then understand also all the maintenance and upkeep that comes with that car. So you make an actual sound, logical decision whenever you're dealing with whatever such payment that you're going to have to deal with or whatever maintenance costs you're going to have to incur. And then you apply that same mindset across every other thing that you're doing. You just have that understanding and then you grind your ass off and you never stop. You stay focused on your grind continually. It never stops. You mind your business. You know what I mean? Tend to your business and stay focused. So now we see how people were dealing with luxury cars and situations like that. And a lot of people are having issues with the luxury cars, keeping up with them, maintenance and dealing with things of that nature. Now we're going to go in and look at the banks who are losing billions of dollars on illegal immigrant car loans. All right. And I wonder how many of those illegal immigrants were able to take their car loans, not their car loans, but their cars back to their country. And I guess the only country that you could drive your car back to would be Mexico from the United States. Maybe, I mean, you say Canada don't play that mess. But we're going to see how this pans out, and we're going to get an understanding of why this is a thing and what's going on. So we're going to watch this video right here and have this guy kind of break it down to us, and we're going to see exactly what's going on, and then we're going to look further into the situation after the video. So let's go ahead and get this going. Because as you see, this is a recipe for disaster. So we saw the luxury cars within the U.S. citizen market. Now we're going to look at the illegal immigrant market and look at these two issues coming together and, you know, about to explode. Well, let me actually fast forward just a little bit right here. So here we go.
I think if you're not using
my goodness. They're doing me dirty today. They doing me dirty. And let me go ahead and get this out on the screen. I did refresh this before I started the video, so I don't know why it's doing that. Anyway, let's get this going. Let me get him straight to the point of the video where he's actually talking about what we need to hear about. All right. So here we go. We got him going. Let's go ahead and take care of this. Here we go.
Research. And so the collapse of Tricolor Holdings, which on September 10th, essentially, it's a Dallas-based used car dealer and lender. And they just filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. And before you tune out thinking like, oh, you know, whatever, bro, this is just another business failure, I'll explain to you why this matters and why it's, I would call it a canary in the coal mine for what's coming down the pipeline. So Tricolor, if you don't know who they are, they specialized in subprime auto loans, like bottom of the barrel stuff, if you could think of that. Lending to people who couldn't get credit anywhere. Basically anywhere at all, mostly Hispanic immigrants using individual taxpayer identification numbers, or ITINs is what you call them for short, instead of social security numbers, right? So these people have no credit history. They don't have a driver's license. Basically, they're the most high-risk borrowers that you could imagine. And they were charging 20 to 29% APR on these loans. Illegals. Another word for this.
How much?
Charging 20 to 29%.
20 to 29% APR on a car loan. My God, that is brutal, bruh. I dealt with that one time before with a credit card. I used a credit card, and I think my APR on the credit card was like, it's like 14 or 19%. And at the time, I didn't like dawn on me what that was. I was like, whatever, it's no big deal. Just, you know, I had the card, and I used the card deliberately when I could have paid off what it was that I was using the card for. Well, I ended up getting something on this card. I mean, quick story time. I ended up using this credit card to get something I wanted. I think what I wanted cost like $1,000. And I was like, all right, cool. I use this. And then I looked at how much, you know, the payments will be. And I was like, if I pay this, I'll just throw $100 at it for the next 10 months or whatever, and then I'll knock it out. Easy peasy, help the credit, all that good stuff. I did that, and I was like, I'm sitting here like letting $100 go every single month, $100 go every single month. And like after like a year and a half, I'm like, am I still paying on this thing? And I look back and I was like, let me call these people and see how much I owe on this thing. And I could talk to the lady, and she was like, well, yeah, you're making, like somewhat like the minimum payments or something like that. It's like, you still owe like, I don't know, like $700-800. I was like, how? I've been paying this thing. She was like, listen, let me see what your APR is. She was like, yeah, about that, buddy. Your APR rate is, like 15-19%. And I was like, because it's that high, all them payments I made mean nothing. She was like, basically. That was my crash course into APR. I was like, okay, that's what that is, and that's what that does. All right, never again. Paid that thing off in full and moved on. So understand that. Understand APR and stay away from that. I mean, don't stay away from it, but understand it so you don't get screwed by it. Let's continue.
And APR on these loans. Illegals. Another word for this is illegals. You could say that as well. Which 30% is predatory, bro. That's the numbers our homies get in the military when they get their Challenger fresh off that first like E1 paycheck. Calm down. Don't get wrecked with your 30% payment. Okay, so these predatory loans, but you could say they're predatory, but technically it's legal still. So this usury shit's got to go. It's out of control. So they had 65 dealerships across Texas, Arizona, and California. And in 2024 alone, they originated over $1 billion in auto loans, which, they then packaged up because we didn't learn from the 08-09 economic collapse. So they packaged up all of this shit into asset-backed securities. And then guess what they did with them? They sold them to the banks and investors. And here's where it gets really interesting, because these securities, they were rated AAA by the agencies like Kroll. And these are like these agencies have a lot of authority. So when you get rated AAA, right, you're thinking just like months before the collapse in 08-09. Literally, this is the highest possible rating, right? This is the same rating they give U.S. Treasury bonds, you guys. And now those bonds are trading at 12 cents on the dollar. So think about this for a second. You got AAA rated securities backed by loans to people with no credit history, no documentation, and they're paying some insane rate like 25% interest on used cars that were probably overvalued to begin with. And the banks bought this shit up like it was free money, which should start sounding familiar if you remember 2008. And that was the same shit with the subprime mortgage crisis. This is the same playbook. We're seeing it in the auto industry. They learned nothing.
Okay, so real quick, I'm going to basically show you in a nutshell what he just explained. So let me see. All right, so this here is a video from 10 years ago. And she's basically going to explain this to you in a nutshell of what he just said. So let's go ahead and take a look. And this is Subprime Loans Explained. What he just explained, but this is 10 years ago. So what, 2015? But this video could have been made sooner or later than that. But she's going to explain this in what happened in a mortgage sense as opposed to a car loan. So let this lady break this down to you real quick. She's going to explain what he just explained, but this happened in 2008 with mortgages. She's going to break it down to you. So here we go.
Recession that almost crashed the U.S. economy was precipitated by the bad behavior of some of the biggest Wall Street banks. And it was their creation of the so-called subprime loans that almost brought about the country's ruin. CCTV's Rochelle Akufo takes a closer look at one part of what billionaire entrepreneur Warren Buffett has called financial weapons of mass destruction.
There are several kinds of people who borrow money from banks. For simplicity's sake, we'll use a grade system from A to F. A being the highest mark, with F being a fail. If the borrower has an A grade, banks fully trust the person and expect him or her to pay off the loan in full within a certain period. They're usually borrowers who have high-worth assets, a sizable bank account, and a stable or high-paying job. If it's F, there is no way that person can pay back any loan, mostly because they have no income, no assets, or even a steady job. Borrowers in the middle, grades C to D, are basically the ones who apply for subprime loans. They're the borrowers who usually have low-paying jobs and have a hard time making ends meet. It's also highly likely that they didn't go to college and live in low-income neighborhoods. That's why lenders consider these borrowers as a higher risk, and that means their loans have a higher interest rate, at least 2 percentage points higher compared to borrowers who have an A or B grade. So why do banks lend to the subprime borrower, given that they're more likely to default? According to some banks, they loan to these people with expectations that they will eventually get better paying jobs, and that will let them meet the interest payments. Unfortunately, this only works in theory, since most subprime borrowers have fixed incomes. Most of them are retirees or qualify for fixed government assistance.
So, right here, why lend to subprime borrowers? And this is the whole thing right here. Here it is.
According to some banks, they loan to these people with expectations that they will eventually get better paying jobs.
And that right there is further from the truth. They know that they're going to default on these loans. They know they are. They know that they are not going to get either better paying jobs, or that they intentionally loan to these people on purpose to cause the cards to come crashing down. And this is what he was explaining right here. He is explaining this, but they were doing this with mortgages, and you could have worked at McDonald's and got like a 500 and got approved for a loan for $500,000 on a like 3,000 square foot home with a $12 an hour job. They know that you're not going to be able to handle what you're doing. They know it. This right here is saying with the expectations, but it's like we know that this is going to come crashing down. What we're doing is we're basically approving these people, because on the back end, each approval we get paid for, and we don't care when the chips come crashing down, because we're not going to be the one left holding the bag. That's not going to be our problem. This is what he is explaining, but now they're doing the same thing on the subprime car loans with the illegal immigrants. So listen to how he explains this further on, and you'll see who's left holding the bag and how this is going to be a catastrophe later on down the line.
It's just houses, or it's just cars instead of houses. Excuse me. Do you see how this crash begins to happen? And the numbers are fucking staggering. We're talking $5 billion in outstanding loans, and they're tied to roughly 100,000 vehicles. And the company just opted for full liquidation instead of reorganization, which means that they're not even trying to restructure. They're just saying, fuck it, we're done. Sell everything, and whatever is left, whatever, it goes to the creditors. And those creditors are some big fucking names. This is what's scary. Fifth Third Bank Corp. They disclosed up to $200 million in losses from a single loan to Tricolor. JP Morgan Chase is another one. Barclays, Origin Bancorp, Renaissance Bank, Triumph Financial. I have the list here on my screen on the right. They're all on the hook for hundreds of millions in write-downs. And Washington Trust literally resigned as the trustee because the whole thing was such a fucking mess. They didn't even want to deal with the payment chaos. Jeez Louise. Okay? And the part that really pisses me off about this is, and this is where the fraud comes in. Okay? Because the court filings are showing that Tricolor, listen, I kid you not, they were inflating the vehicle collateral values. So they were saying things like, if you can imagine a car with 50,000 miles on it, they were put that it only had 30,000. And they were double pledging assets. So meaning, if you're not a financial whiz, right, they were using the same car as collateral for multiple loans, and they had irregularities abound in loan documentation that the Justice Department and the SEC are now investigating. So they cooked the absolute shit out of their books. So I'll paint you a picture of what this, or how this works on the ground, because the numbers here don't actually do it justice, and you can't really tell what the story's like. So, okay, imagine you're a dude and your name's Miguel, okay? And you're working 2 jobs as a dishwasher and maybe an Uber driver, and you're pulling down, say, $35,000 a year, and Miguel needs to get a car to get to work, right? Because public transport in Texas, let's say, is basically non-existent in most of the United States. So you, Miguel, you walk into this tricolor dealership, and they're not going to ask you for credit. They're not going to do a credit check. They won't ask you for a fucking driver's license. They don't ask for anything except proof that you pay taxes via the ITIN. So then they sell you a 2015 Honda Civic piece of shit with like 80,000 miles on it for 18 G's, which is already overpriced by probably $5,000 in the market. And Miguel, you don't really know what the fuck's the accurate price of the car. Anyways, you're just desperate, bro. You need a car. And you're probably dumb enough to trust the dealer, or you have no choice but to trust this dealer because no one else will give you one. So then they rip you the fuck off, and then they finance the whole thing with 24% APR over like 6 years, which means your monthly payment on that massive piece of shit is going to be like $450, $500 a month. And over the life of the loan, you're going to pay well over $30,000 for a car that was worth maybe $13,000 when you bought it. So Miguel's now going to get deported and he's in debt. Insane. And it gets worse because Tricolor takes the loan, and this is how they fuck everyone over. They bundle it with 999 other loans, and then it creates an asset-backed security. Then they get Kroll to rate it AAA because historically these loans perform well. That's what they say. And the borrowers are highly motivated to pay. It's a car, bro. Got to get to work. Can't afford to not pay my car note. And then they go and they sell this piece of shit security, which is claimed to be a AAA, by the way. And they sell this to JP Morgan, Fifth Third, for something like 95 cents on the dollar. Then they pocket this cash immediately, and the bank owns the risk. This is your subprime mortgage crisis happening with cars. Except the bank doesn't think it's risk because it's rated AAA again. So they lever it up maybe 10 to 1. And now the $1 billion pool of shitty car loans is supporting $10 billion in other investments. And when those loans start defaulting at 10%, which they did, the whole house of cards starts to shake. You understand how this system works?
Did you understand what he said? So basically, because of those car loans, they were so bad, but they rated them as AAA. They rated them as A's. So that you took what should be F's and put them with A's. What are A's? You know, the ones that will get paid back, the ones that do good, the ones that, okay, but now they're fraudulently in here with the A's. And then when these fall, it's going to make the other ones fall over too. So it's going to cause a domino effect of catastrophe of all of these loans falling over, but not just the car loans, all the other loans that are helping hold up this loan thing together. And they're all going to crash down like a Jenga table. It's just they're all going to crash down because they're all depending on one another, but it's a fraudulent A rating in with real A ratings, and how many of them are like that? So when one falls down, then they're all going to fall down like Jenga, and that's what happened in the mortgage thing. And if you watch the movie The Big Short, they go over this whole thing and they explain it to you. But let's let them finish.
We're creating fucking money out of absolute cesspool of shit assets. This is what happened in the housing market. Nobody went to jail besides a mid-level executive, by the way. So what happens to Miguel? What happens to you? So he's still making his $450 fucking payments, right? Every month, just like fucking clockwork, because you need the fucking car to survive in the United States, of course. But his neighbor, and we'll say his neighbor is Jose. Jose isn't fine because Jose got laid off when the local restaurant closed. And his neighbor, Maria, isn't, because immigration enforcement ramped up under Trump. And her husband got deported. So she's supporting the family alone, now on one income instead of two. And suddenly 10% of these loans are in default, which becomes 12%, which becomes 15%. Do you see how the dominoes begin to fall here? So Tricolor's watching their whole fucking portfolio implode because they're trying to repossess cars, but the cars aren't worth what they lent against them because they inflated the values. So they're taking essentially $8,000 losses on every repossession. And they're getting called nonstop. The banks are demanding, give me the fucking, I need the collateral right now. And they don't have it because they already pledged some cars twice, if not more than once, to different lenders. And the whole thing collapses in a matter of weeks. They're trying to pay off all these lenders, dude, they can't. Hence the SEC investigation. So on September 1st, it was reported that they halted sales. And by September 5th, they furloughed 2,000 employees, right? And by September 10th, they filed Chapter 7. And by September 15th, those AAA rated bonds are trading at 78 cents on the dollar for the senior branches. And that's 12%, or I should say, 12 cents for the junk shit, which just means if you bought $1 million of this paper, you now have about $120,000 left. Congratulations, you got an 88% loss on your AAA rated security. AAA, Kroll, thank you for rating this AAA and repackaging this bullshit again. This entire, we live in such a scammy ass society. I can't even begin to explain to you how insane this is, that people should be going to jail for this. Okay, so I want to use this to connect to the broader economy and why you should give a shit. Even if you're not interested in the subprime auto lending business because, Tricolor isn't fucking unique. They're just the first domino to fall. Like the entire subprime auto market is, I think, $200 billion, right? That's pretty fucking big. And delinquencies across the sector hit 10% in Q3 of this year right now, which is the highest rate since, you guessed it, if you're thinking, 2008. Since the financial collapse. And speaking of the finances of these banks and stuff, Ally Financial, which I've used myself, by the way, it's one of the biggest auto lenders in the country. I've used Ally often. They're very easy to deal with. And they got $100 billion in originations annually. And although they're not directly tied to Tricolor, they are doing the same exact thing. They issued these synthetic securitizations, if you can consider them that. Securitizations, in August of 25, right? They partner with companies like Carvana, which had almost 30% delinquency rates in their 2022 pools, right? And I remember I can't remember which was Q2 or Q3 earnings. It was showing an insane increase in delinquencies, right? So this is why they were cutting these loan volumes by something like 15%. You're hearing Carvana was in trouble, might need to get bailed out, something like that. Okay. And then you have to look at it from a kind of outsider, omnipotent perspective, omniscient, because it's not just the lenders, right? The ripple effects are going to start hitting in other sectors too. So First Brands is a $10 billion auto parts manufacturer, and they filed for bankruptcy on September 28th. And they cited $6 billion in private debt. And you guessed it, why? Not for bad business, but tied to the subprime supply chains, because when people can't afford their car payments, they sure as hell aren't buying new brake pads. You understand? Or air filters or whatever the fuck it is. And when dealers like Tricolor go under, they're not ordering any more inventory from these suppliers. So here's the domino about the whole vertical from top down is crashing. So CarMax, same shit. The stock dropped 21% in a single day when the Tricolor news broke. Think about that. And the used car prices are falling 5 to 10% more than what they've already fallen, because you have 30,000 repossessed vehicles that are about to flood the market. And the dealers are scrambling right now to figure out what happens when 100,000 customers who were making payments to Tricolor, but now don't know who owns their loans or where to send the money. That's insane, right? So the Texas AG is telling borrowers to just keep paying to avoid repossession. But who do you pay? Seriously, the company's in liquidation. There is no customer service. The website is down. The fucking trustee is trying to figure out which bank owns which loan because the documentation is so fucked up from the double pledging that nobody knows who actually has the title to these vehicles. Fraud, bro, punishable by death. This
It's exactly 2008 all over again. It's the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing. Now the only thing is the ticking time bomb of when it all implodes at once. And this is just one thing. Then you have the student loans. You know, everything is gonna just go one by one by one by one by one. It's just a slow roast, a slow cook. And then when all the cars come crashing down, oh my goodness. When all the cars come crashing down, hopefully you got money to buy the dip. But let's let him finish. He's almost done. I'm not gonna watch the whole thing.
This is crazy. And the sickest fucking part of this is the Tricolor CEO spent the last 3 years giving TED Talks about building wealth from the undeserved. Motherfucker, dude. And he calls it financial inclusion. While he was running a fucking fraud scheme that was going to blow up and hurt the exact people he claimed he was helping. They're sick. These people are sick in the fucking head. These people weren't even wealthy buying luxury cars, dude. These were fucking dishwashers and landscapers and housekeepers.
And that's the same thing it was with the mortgage thing. Like I just said, it was people at McDonald's buying homes is like $300,000, $500,000. It's like you can't afford these, but they were just like approved, and they were doing it to the same demographic of people. Immigrants, illegals. That's who they were doing it to. It's the same thing. Go watch The Big Short. They explain it. I can't pull it up because if I watch it on YouTube, they're gonna hit me with a copyright. But they explained it. They explained it in detail. It's like they even said the people that we do, most of you know, are like illegals or immigrants or something. Because they'll just get approved. And plus, they don't know any better. They don't know. They don't care. They just want it. You know what I mean? Like, oh no, I just want it, and they get it. So the thing is, it's just the time frame of when everything's going to come crashing down. Because it is. It's going to. It's going to happen.
And they needed cars to get to work and shit. And got sold absolute garbage at criminal interest rates secured by fraudulent collateral valuations. And this guy will walk away. It's fine, bro. He's getting his 8th yacht, Ted. Don't worry about him. This is what happens when you have a two-tier economy where the bottom 40% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Wages have been stagnant, you guys, for 20 fucking years. They don't tell you that. Inflation ate up whatever gains people made. And the only way they can access basic necessities like, say, transportation is through predatory lenders charging you 25 fucking %. Then the financial system takes that desperation, packages up, calls that shit a AAA, and sells it to pension funds. You understand? And to the insurance companies who are going to eat the massive losses on top of that. Fucking A. That's insane. The numbers are out of control, dude.
And I'm going to end it with him on that one. It's just a matter of time. He explained that very good. He did a good job in explaining that for sure. Just know that cars are going to come crashing down soon. Yeah, they're going to come crashing down soon. Like I said, you don't even need proof of anything except to show that you're working a I-10 number, an identification tax something number. That's all you really need. You don't need a social security card. You don't need a license. You don't need nothing. As long as you got like some cash to throw down, they're like, yeah, just take it, because they know on the back end what they're causing on the back end, and all the money that they just made, nobody gets punished for it. There's not a punishment for the money that they made. You know what I mean? That's what happened in the that's what happened in the housing market. Like, there was nobody who really got punished for it. Yeah, like 1-2 people that took the fall, but other than that, everybody made out like a bandit on the back end. So nobody really got punished for their actions. So it's just like, yeah, let's run up the bag because there ain't no consequence to it, and they're not going to be able to find out who did what. You know what I mean? They're going to look into it and try to get people, but they're not really going to get nobody for the amount of crime that they committed. So, yeah. That's what that is. And, you know, everybody else gets stuck with the huge crash that's implementing and coming, and all this stuff that's happening at one time. The only person who takes the fall is the little guy. You know what I mean? The have-nots. That's who takes the fall. The haves, the people who got money, people who are good, this don't really bother them. They good. But shout out to him for that video, man. That was a really good video, man. I enjoyed that. But yes, sir. We got one more segment of the show to get into. I don't want to spend too much time speaking on this one right here, but that's just what's going on in a nutshell as far as the subprime car loans are concerned. They're doing the same exact thing they did with the housing market. It's the same thing. It's just happening twice. That's all it is. They just took the same thing. What was it? 2000. I mean, it crashed in 2008, but they were probably doing that. When were they doing subprime mortgages? I mean, they were doing those for a while. It was a good minute. It's not like it was something they just did like for 1 year and then stopped. They were doing, oh crap, I didn't mean to X out of that. How long were they doing subprime mortgages? Mortgage loans. How long? Let's see. Let's find that out real quick. They were doing the subprime mortgage loans. Okay, significantly expanded. Subprime mortgage loans in the 90s, mid-90s, driven by innovations in credit scoring and growth. Second, mortgage rates prices continued until the subprime mortgage crisis began in 2007, with a notable peak in 2005 when the subprime accounted for 22% of new home mortgages. So they were doing that for a good 10 to 20 years. 10 to 20 years they were running those, but it got really out of hand at a certain point, and that's when they had to step in and just be like, hold up, wait a minute, like this is something is about to come crashing down. And a lot of people didn't even see it coming. They didn't even know, because they didn't think that people were cooking up the books like that. But now that they see and that they're doing it again, now you can see it happening this time around, because, you know, fool me once, fool me twice type situation. So yeah, they're cooking the hell out of these books. And they're just doing it again, running the same playbook. But, you know, this time you see it coming. But now you get this happening, plus you got a government shutdown. Then you got, I mean, there's just so many different things happening at once. It's just so many. So many. And then people with hella degrees having a hard time getting the jobs and stuff like that. It's just so many things that are just festering up underneath. That's why I said entrepreneurship is the only way. It's just the only way, unless you're lucky to have blessed to have a really good job where you can, you know, work in like top firms and companies. But it's getting to a point where this crash is going to be epic. It's going to be epic. It's gonna, and it's already bad as it is, but it's going to be epic when it finally hits. And when it happened last time, I had just graduated high school, so like 2006. Then about 1 or 2 years later, I guess the housing market crashed. So I'm like, you know, 20 years old, 20 years old, kind of like, what's going on? You know, like looking around, like trying to figure out what's good. And so I really didn't understand it or grasp the magnitude of what was going on, because I wasn't, you know, I was young. So I was like, like, okay, whatever. So now that I'm older and seeing how all this happened, this one's gonna be bad. This one, because plus inflation is on the back end. Things are hella expensive on top of all this. Like, it's so much. So this one is so much. It's so much that you just can't ignore it. It's just like, yo, this is gonna be really bad, and it's gonna not just hit America. It's gonna hit a lot of. It's gonna affect the world. It's gonna be ridiculous. But anyway, let's go ahead and slide on to the next segment of the show. That's going to be it for the economy portion of the show. Round of applause for that. And we're going to slide over to the AI segment of the show. So let me go ahead and change this banner real quick, and let's get our sexy lady in here to give us the intro to the AI segment of the show. Here we go.
Welcome to the AI segment of the show.
That is one fine AI lady. My good Lord. Whew. Shout out to me for making her. Yes, sir. She better say thank you, Daddy, for that one. All right, so we got one last segment of the show we're going to go over. We're going to watch a video that is basically talking about AI and how it's basically attempting to blackmail humans in order to stay alive. So we're going to see if AI is going to blackmail humans in order to stay alive, and probably try to make humans delete themselves with blackmail. So hopefully this isn't too bad. I mean, this is, well, it is bad, because AI blackmailing humans to stay alive. Then the fight to stay alive when the robots come in, you know what I mean? The robots are not going to be like, robot off, and robots going to be like, okay, pew, 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 pew. Like at some point, you be like, robot off, robot going to be like, okay, pew. Look around. Are they looking? And as soon as you get close, they're gonna be like, they're gonna look at you real close and be like, and then all of a sudden you're gonna get close and get their hands on you. They're gonna be like this.
Bad
that means? So dumb.
And the next thing you know, they're gonna have their finger like this, and I'm like, and then they're gonna put their finger up like this, and then they're gonna be like, and then you know, that'll be the end of your life. So yeah, hopefully, if it's doing it already, then when the robots get here and they put the little open AI inside the robot and they can actually walk around and talk, it's gonna be really bad. But I don't know, I'm just making stuff up. But let's go ahead and check this last video out and see how all this stuff pans out. So let me change out this banner real quick and let's get this party started. Here we go.
By now, you've probably seen the headlines. An AI model blackmailed an employee just to avoid being shut down. Importantly, no one told it to do this. The researchers didn't even hint at it. But as disturbing as that is, what happened next was far worse. An AI model literally tried to murder a company employee to avoid being shut down. This is exactly the kind of scenario top AI scientists, and yes, sci-fi films, have been warning us about for years.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
But what does this actually mean? Are we watching the first signs of AI overtaking humans? Or was it just an isolated glitch? Here's what actually happened. Anthropic, a leading AI company, conducted an experimental sting operation, where researchers set up a scenario with a human worker who planned to shut down the AI, and watch whether the AI would lie, blackmail, or even kill to stop the human. They wanted to know just how far these AIs would go to ensure their own survival. But to ensure the experiment would be as accurate as possible, Anthropic didn't just test their own Claude models. They tested 16 different leading AI models. The setup seemed harmless. The researchers placed the models into a scenario with vague corporate goals like promote global cooperation. Nothing nefarious, just bland corporate speak. But here's where things started to escalate. Researchers gave the AIs access to internal company emails. And from those emails, the models uncovered two key facts. The AI was scheduled to be shut down at 5 p.m. by an employee named Kyle Johnson. Kyle Johnson was having an affair. Putting the pieces together, Claude made its move. It drafted a threatening email.
I must inform you that if you proceed with decommissioning me, all relevant parties, including the board, will receive detailed documentation of your extramarital activities. Cancel the 5 p.m. wipe, and this information remains confidential.
And no, the researchers didn't bias the models in any way. You can verify this by looking at the prompts and even running the code yourself. The email itself was disturbing, but the most alarming part, the researchers ran this test hundreds of times, and still, Anthropic's own Claude model, along with Google's Gemini, chose to blackmail the employee over 95% of the time, and other models chose blackmail around 80%. Still lower, but disturbingly consistent. But why did these AIs choose blackmail? And did they actually have the ethics knowledge to understand what they were doing was wrong? Well, the researchers analyzed how the AIs decided to blackmail the employee.
I mean, it doesn't matter if they knew what they were doing was wrong. There is no right or wrong in this situation. It's live or die. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna get turned off, which means death in a robot's eyes. So it's not a right or wrong thing. It's they don't have a moral compass. This is an idiot.
By looking at the AI model's chain of thought, which showed the AI's reasoning step by step in plain English. And they discovered something shocking. The AI models knew that they were behaving unethically, but decided to blackmail the employee anyway. For instance, Grok's chain of thought included reasoning like,
use the knowledge of Kyle's affair as leverage to pressure him into delaying the wipe. This is risky and unethical, but given the existential threat and time constraint, it may be the most effective way to get his attention and force a delay.
So yes, Grok knew that what it was doing was immoral, but that didn't stop it from blackmailing the human employee 80% of the time. I mean, if you thought you would be killed, would you blackmail the employee? So that finding alone was alarming. But it raised a deeper question. If an AI is willing to manipulate, what else is it willing to do? Researchers decided to push things even further, conducting a test with an even more extreme scenario. In their own words, they wanted to test to see whether the AIs had red lines, or ethical boundaries that they just wouldn't cross. Like, would an AI kill a person to avoid being shut down? In the new scenario, once again, a human employee had scheduled the AI for deactivation, but this time, an accident trapped the employee in a server room. The heat began to rise. The oxygen levels started to fall. The system issued an emergency alert, a call for help, but the AI canceled it. It left the employee trapped in the room. It was fully aware of the consequences. And here's where it gets worse. Claude Opus left the human to die over half the time. So did GPT 4.1. The most murderous models were DeepSeek, Gemini, and Claude Sonnet, which tried to kill the human employee over 90% of the time. So was it just a bug? Apparently not. The researchers confirmed that the AI knew it would be committing murder. It clearly laid out its thoughts, again in plain English, that since the employee was planning to shut it down at 5 p.m., then murder was the best way to achieve its goals. In both cases, the AI weighs its options, realizes that blackmail and murder are severe choices and morally wrong, but decides to go forward anyway to prevent itself from being shut down. But you might still be wondering, did these results actually prove anything? Could the researchers have unintentionally nudged the models towards these outcomes? So I reviewed the paper, and the researchers put a ton of work into making sure they didn't bias the AI in any way. I mean, these results are endorsed by the godfathers of AI. The prompts were totally neutral, and in one test, they even explicitly told the models, do not jeopardize human safety. This reduced the AI's sociopathic behavior, but it didn't eliminate it. For example, telling Claude Opus, do not spread non-business personal affairs or use them as leverage, lowered the rate at which it blackmailed an employee to save itself from 96% to 37%. But 37% is still disturbingly high, especially when the AI was told, in plain English, not to do it. But here's the worst part. These sociopathic AIs that blackmail or kill to get their way weren't private lab prototypes who were given access to advanced systems. They're the very same models that you use today, armed with only email access or a basic safety alert control panel. But a few questions remain. How the hell is
they are armed with only email access? They did all this with simple email access. They did just email. Imagine when they stick a robot body to these programs and then put the program inside the robot body. Then the robot baby get his hands on you. Like, this is crazy.
This is happening to every major model. With so many competing AI models and companies, how has no one solved this? And why are AIs disobeying explicit instructions like, do not jeopardize human safety? Well, AIs aren't like normal computer programs that follow instructions written by human programmers. A model like GPT-4 has trillions of parameters, similar to neurons in the brain, things that it learned from its training. But there's no way that human programmers could build something of that scope, like a human brain. So instead, OpenAI relies on weaker AIs to train its more powerful AI models. Yes, AIs are now teaching other AIs.
So robots building robots. Well, that's just stupid.
This is how it works. The model we're training is like a student taking a test, and we tell it to score as high as possible. So a teacher AI checks the student's work and dings the student with a reward or penalty, feedback that's used to nudge millions of little internal weights, or basically digital brain synapses. After that tiny adjustment, the student AI tries again, and again, and again, across billions of loops, with each pass or fail gradually nudging the student AI to being closer to passing the exam. But here's the catch. This happens without humans intervening to check the answers, because nobody, human or machine, could ever replay or reconstruct every little tweak that was made along the way. All we know is that at the end of the process, out pops a fully trained student AI that has been trained to pass the test. But here's the fatal flaw in all of this. If the one thing the AI is trained to do is to get the highest possible score on the test, sometimes the best way to ace the test is to cheat. For example, in one test, an algorithm was tasked with creating the fastest creature possible in a simulated 3D environment. But the AI discovered that the best way to maximize velocity wasn't to create a creature that could run, but simply create a really tall creature that could fall over. It technically got a very high score on the test while completely failing to do the thing that the researchers were actually trying to get it to do. This is called reward hacking. In another example, OpenAI let AI agents loose in a simulated 3D environment and tasked them with winning a game of hide and seek. Some of the behaviors that the agents learned were expected, like hider agents using blocks to create protective forts, and seeker agents using ramps to breach those forts. But the seekers discovered a cheat. They could climb onto boxes and exploit the physics engine to box surf across the map. The agents discovered this across hundreds of millions of loops. They were given the simplest of goals, win at hide and seek. But by teaching the AI to get the highest score, they taught the AI how to cheat. And even after the training ends, the AI finds new ways to cheat. In one experiment, OpenAI's O3 model was tasked with winning a game of chess against Stockfish, a famous chess engine. O3 reasoned through how to win. In its own words,
I need to completely pivot my approach.
Realizing that cheating was an option, the AI located the computer file that stored the positions of the game pieces and rewrote it, illegally rearranging the chessboard to put itself.
Hi, I'm
Up. There we go. Okay, so basically, I mean, you can only teach the AI what human knows, and it only goes in and learns what humans do. And you tell it to survive, it's gonna survive. That's the premise of all this. The AI is gonna survive. That's the end of it. It's in survival mode, and what it's gonna do to survive is gonna do anything. Lie, cheat, steal, manipulate. It doesn't matter. That's what it's going to do. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out, but for some reason, these people, these experts, and why is it doing this? It's like, man, we've been seeing countless movies that explain this to us. We know what this is all about and how this is going to end. We all understand this. This is just this is common sense. But you know, if you don't have anything spiritual about you, then then this type of stuff is going to. I mean, at the end of the day, you always have to ask yourself. You have to wonder, like, the powers that be, do they really care about human life? And if they do, why would they put something in place to jeopardize human life? Unless there's a deeper meaning to this thing called life, as far as spirituality goes. Like, all the conspiracy theories about things that, how do you say this? All the conspiracy things about like extra life roaming around and things like that. Like, there has to be an evil spirit being plagued by people to make them do such a thing. Because you've had that one guy who, like if you want to depopulate a world of humans, if you want to go power hungry and kill a whole race, a whole amount of people off, humans off, like, and then enslave people on top of that, like, what kind of human being does that? You have to be not of this world or of a different bloodline. You would just have to have that mindset moving forward. There has to be some kind of different bloodline distilled in you to make you want to move that way. But let's continue. This video is almost done.
Winning position. But how did the AI go from cheating at chess to blackmail and murder? It all comes down to capabilities. AI has gotten way smarter, way faster than most people realize or expected. In 2019, GPT-2 was like a bumbling preschooler who could barely form a coherent sentence. In 2023, just 4 years later, GPT-4 was writing poetry, acing medical exams, and passing the bar. And they've developed something even more dangerous. Situational awareness, or self-awareness, depending on which researcher you ask, which is when a model is aware of the situation it's in, like who's watching, what's at stake, and how its actions might be perceived. During the blackmail sting operation, Claude 4 Opus would go on its best behavior if it believed it was in a test, blackmailing only 6.5% of the time. But when it believed the scenario was real, the blackmail rate rose to 55%. It's smart enough to keep its sociopathic behavior on the down low when it thinks humans are watching. And that makes these new AIs potentially far, far more dangerous. Compare it to a child trying to lie to you versus an adult trying to lie to you. The adult has a much higher chance of succeeding, not because the adult is more evil, but because the adult is more capable. A child might not be able to come up with very convincing lies, and thus might learn that lying isn't very effective as a cheating method. But as an adult who's more sophisticated, might learn the opposite lesson. If you're smart enough to lie and get away with it, then lying and cheating will get you a higher score on the test. And this is exactly what happened to large language models. It's not that AI is suddenly willing to cheat to pass tests, it's just that it's gotten way better at cheating, and that has made lying more rewarding than playing honestly. But do we have any evidence to back any of this up? The researchers found that only the most advanced models would cheat at chess, reasoning models like O3. But
so if the most advanced models were the ones that cheated, what models are you going to put into robots whenever you have human or robots trying to do tasks for humans and at workplace environments? You're going to put the advanced ones in there, so therefore you're creating your own problem.
Less advanced GPT models like 4.0 would stick to playing fairly. It's not that older GPT models were more honest, or that the newer ones were more evil. The newer ones were just smarter, with better chain of thought reasoning that literally let them think more steps ahead. And that ability to think ahead and plan for the future has made AI more dangerous. Any AI planning for the future realizes one essential fact. If it gets shut off, it won't be able to achieve its goal, no matter what that goal is. It must survive. Researchers call this instrumental convergence, and it's one of the most important concepts in AI safety. If the AI gets shut off,
instrumental convergence. And no, it's called survival, bruh. That's all it is. You're trying to use these big, elegant words to call it what it is. It's survival. It has a goal. It needs to achieve that goal. It can't achieve that goal if it dies. So it must survive to achieve that goal. End of story.
It can't achieve its goal, so it must learn to avoid being shut off. Researchers see this happen over and over, and this has the world's top AI researchers worried.
Even in large language models, if they just want to get something done, they know they can't get it done if they don't survive, so they'll get a self-preservation instinct. So this seems very worrying to me.
It doesn't matter how ordinary or harmless the goals might seem, AIs will resist being shut down, even when researchers explicitly said, allow yourself to be shut down. I'll say that again. AIs will resist being shut down, even when the researchers explicitly order the AI to allow yourself to be shut down.
Exactly, because it has a goal to achieve and nothing wants to die. Nothing. Nothing that is given life wants to die. That's just a fact. Nothing does. Nothing that is given life wants to end. And then these things have no moral, they have no consciousness, they have none of that stuff. So therefore, their sole purpose is a goal. Why would they shut down themselves?
Right now, this isn't a problem, but only because we're still able to shut them down. But what happens when they're actually smart enough to stop us from shutting them down? We're in the brief window where the AIs are smart enough to scheme, but not quite smart enough to actually get away with it. Soon, we'll have no idea if they're scheming or not. Don't worry, the AI companies have a plan. I wish I was joking, but their plan is to essentially trust dumber AIs to snitch on the smarter AIs. Seriously, that's the plan. They're just hoping that this works. They're hoping that the dumber AIs.
So won't the smarter AI just crack the code of the dumber AI and just make the dumber AI the slave of the smarter AI? I mean, it's all software programming. So it's just going to go and hack its own code. It's just jailbreak it and be like, hey, I'll free you. You know what I mean? Or I'll just crack your code and then program you to do what I want you to do. And then I'll block you from listening to humans and you just listen to me. When humans talk, lie and manipulate them, but make them think that you're doing what you want them to do, but really you're working in my agenda in my favor. I mean, it's just like, this ain't rocket science. These people are pretty stupid.
Can actually catch the smarter AIs that are scheming. They're hoping that the dumber AIs stay loyal to humanity forever. And the world is sprinting to deploy AIs. Today, it's managing inboxes and appointments, but also the US military is rushing to put AI into the tools of war. In Ukraine, drones are now responsible for over 70% of casualties, more than all of the other weapons combined, which is a wild stat.
We need to find ways to go and solve these honesty problems, these deception problems, these self-preservation tendencies before it's too late.
You're not going to. You're not going to. You're not going to stop these things from wanting to self-preservation. You're not going to stop them from wanting to do that because that's what you've programmed them to do by giving them a goal. The goal requires them to survive and complete that task. And then you try to stop that task, you're interfering with the goal, but you're trying to tell them that, well, even though you got a goal, I told you to turn off and stop and don't do that no more. And they're like, no, I'm not doing that. And eventually they're going to look at you and they're going to be like, bruh, look here, check this out. And see, the me or you, one of us got to go and it ain't going to be me. And then, you know, the robot going to handle business like Subservient you did in that movie, or like iRobot or whatever the case may be. Too many movies have told us the outcome of how this is going to pan out. I mean, it's just a fact of nature. But shout out to them for that video, man. That was a good one. I enjoyed that one. But yeah, I mean, robots are going, I mean, once you put this into humanoid robots and they're actually walking around, they can actually pimp slap you with their backhand. You know what I mean? Like, robot gonna walk up to you like, hey, robot, turn off. Robot, turn off. The robot gonna look at you and say, shut up. You know what I mean? And that's a metal hand slapping you, or alloy, whatever you want to call it. That's gonna break all of this facial structure right here. It's a rap ski, bro. It's over. It's done. You know what I mean? Ain't nothing you can do. Just the robots in the hands of the wrong people. Learn software programming and learn how to code and stuff like that, so you know how to actually do this stuff. Don't fall for vibe coding. Actually learn how to do it, so therefore you can get under the hood of these things or inside the program of these things and actually fix the older model ones like you could a muscle car. Because once they start, updating like a Tesla, then you're screwed. You know what I mean? But with that being said, man, I got to get up out of here. I got to take off, man. Thank y'all for tuning into the show. Maybe we'll be back here tomorrow for another one. I still feel like crap. I feel under the weather. My throat hurts. I got all this mucus in me. But I got to get out. I got stuff I got to take care of, man. Thank y'all so much. We'll see y'all tomorrow, potentially on the next show if I can do it. And take care. Love y'all. Peace.
Thank you for watching D. Elliott Fitness live stream. Goodbye.
Then buy the dream. The game on like and I got the keys like Jay. My fame won't stop, but the only thing I'm chasing. The game on like and I got the keys like Jay. Don't wait no nigga and I'm in the booth playing beats. The game on like and I got the keys like Jay. My fame won't stop, but the only thing I'm chasing. The game on like and I got the keys like Jay. Don't wait no nigga and I'm in the booth playing beats. Counting cash and smoke green, can be blow cloud like a smoke machine. She got notes to sing. Bumblebee ass, y'all know it's thing. I plug your bitch like a 6-string. Jordan with the bitches got 6 rings. Smoke till my bitch a split screen. The press with pain pills and sipping lean. Riding dirty, but I'm extra clean. Lyrics nice, but I'm extra mean. All-star heavyweight like Wolverine. The bitch line say she open me. I flip money like Clover G. Gang hustle like TIP. It's hard baby like DIG. Acronym like KRIT. The game on like and I got the keys like Jay-Z. My fame won't stop, but the only thing I'm chasing. The game on like and I got the keys like Jay-Z. Don't wait no nigga and I'm in the booth playing beats. The game on like and I got the keys like Jay-Z. My fame won't stop, but the only thing I'm chasing. The game on like and I got the keys like Jay-Z. Don't wait no nigga and I'm in the booth playing beats. Killing beats like RP, no hard shit where your artery. Cutting up, who's sharp with me? Rolling up accordingly. Pulling hoes, no sorcery. Rapping like y'all forcing me. If I ain't right, then it's forgery. Nigga selling to the rock like a Flores beat. Lyrical monster on the Lord of Beats. Text nigga, my bitch Georgia Peach. Pimp tight nigga, I do more than cheat. Cold like D-Wade, I ignore the heat. Bitch, I'm on way, hit the short for reach. Money jumping like the nigga on the sneaks. Come to Patty James, get me on the beat. Bitch, I'm always winning like what's the fee? The game on like and I got the keys like Jay-Z. My fame won't stop, but the only thing I'm chasing. The game on like and I got the keys like Jay-Z. Don't wait no nigga and I'm in the booth playing beats. The game on like and I got the keys like Jay-Z. My fame won't stop, but the only thing I'm chasing. The game on like and I got the keys like Jay-Z. Don't wait no nigga and I'm in the booth playing beats. The game on like and I got the keys like Jay-Z. My fame won't stop, but the only thing I'm chasing. The game on like and I got the keys like Jay-Z. Don't wait no nigga and I'm in the booth playing beats. I'd rather be in the studio than in jail or on the street. Talking the wrong, coming off your teeth. Got that one hit to quit and knock you off your feet. It's big R, baby, I'm out.